And we're live, or at least I think we're live. Hello, everybody.
Man, it's clean AF in here.
He meant clean and fresh.
Yeah, I'm thinking I probably better shut the volume off on that thing. What's going on today? I've got George Natchik over in the Discord. Although George isn't talking to me for some reason. Don't know what's up with that. But it's a beautiful Monday afternoon in Knoxville, Tennessee. Good to see everybody. Hey, no name. H. Hampton, Real Cygnus, Science It Out, Stark Otter, Yossi, and Judy. Hello, Judy. Sable Eagle. See, we need to fix Stark Otter up here. There we go. Get him all nice and modded up. So, we'll just hang around for a bit and see who joins us. Anybody? Yeah, that's...
Hey, Bill, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hey, George. Try it again, George. I can hear you, bud, but you're not hearing me for some reason. I don't understand. Yeah, we'll give it a minute. You got something muted or what have you, George. You're not muted in Discord, but I don't know why you're not hearing me.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you? Okay. Good enough.
No, I hear you, Blue. Your microphone, this is weird. Your microphone is muted, but I hear you.
No. Wait a minute. No, my mic's not muted. Well, wait a minute. No, my mic's not muted.
I am hearing you, Blue. I hear you fine.
Yeah. They farmers.
Are we having fun?
Yeah, we're having technical
This is
issues, I
weird.
think.
Hey, Blue,
Yeah. Go ahead, George.
Well, I can hear both of you.
Yeah.
Well, I could hear George when he wasn't muted.
Yeah. George says I'm muted, but I'm not muted.
Nope. No, you're coming through loud and clear.
I'm not showing muted on your screen, am I?
Nope. No, you're not showing it's muted, and we're holding a conversation, so you're not muted.
Yeah, clearly.
I
don't understand.
Don't know what. No, I don't know what trouble George, because I could hear George as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing George fine. I don't know.
Modern technology, isn't it wonderful? or is it just? I know Discord has these little wobbles every now and then.
It does. Discord does have its issues from time to time.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get a link. We'll stick one out in the chat here, in case anybody needs one. There we go. Yeah, so if you want to join in, join the Discord. I'll get it out in a second. I'll try that again in English. If you want to join, jump in the Discord. There's a link to it in the chat. Be happy to have you.
No name says I sound a little muffled. Let me try my cheap and nasty headset. They seem to work better.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Discord, I'll get it out so I'll try that again. Hey, Blue, are you hearing me?
Right then.
Yeah, we hear you, George. You got the YouTube turned on. I hear the delay. You're watching
Blue.
YouTube.
Let me try my cheap and nasty.
Oh yes, yes, I can hear me.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to mute the YouTube, George, and just be on Discord.
Huh. A Blue, or are you there? Hello.
Yeah, George, we're here.
Hello.
We're here. Where are you?
This is really weird. I see Blue in the chat, but his microphone is muted, but yet I hear him. What the hell's going on?
I don't see him muted.
Huh. I do.
Have him drop Discord and
you're
come
not-
back in.
You're not muted, Farmers, but Blue is muted, but still I hear his voice. This is really weird. Well,
Yeah.
I'll try
Yeah, restart Discord and see how. Yeah, he's. Yeah, it's a Discord thing, I think. And how's that? No name. Am I nice and crispy now?
No name says that sounds
Okay,
better.
Cool. Yeah, it's my Bluetooth headset that I think I can only use for watching films on here. I think the mics are pile of shite.
What's happening, Farmers?
Your voice is fine. Your audio is just fine, Farmers.
Good. Right. So can you hear both me and Blue?
Well, I can hear Blue, but it's really weird. The Discord is showing me his mic is muted.
I don't know about
Well,
that. Obviously, it's
No.
not if you're hearing me on Discord.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Farmers.
Yeah, we're talking to. I mean, if you can hear both of us, then that's fine. The only thing
Yeah.
I can think that might get rid of it is not just dropping from here, but totally rebooting Discord.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we can hear each other, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, kind of saw. I just tuned in briefly to Bev show. They're sure on about. They're sure hot and bothered about Blue. That's all they discuss anymore.
Yeah, they sit.
What the hell
they
did
sit
you
there.
do to tweak them, Blue?
I don't know. They sit there for hours bitching about me talking about people, and the whole time they're talking about
Blue
me.
there?
That makes no sense.
Blue disappeared.
No, Blue didn't disappear.
Hello.
He's still here.
Was he speaking? Because I don't
Yeah.
hear him now.
Yeah, I'm speaking, George.
I would suggest shutting down Discord completely and rebooting it, George, because you're clearly having Discord issues.
So he was just speaking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's something really haywire here. Okay, I'll shut down Discord and try again.
Yeah, boot it back up.
Here we go. That's what needs to happen. So, let's see. Yeah, that is going back to what George was talking about. That's very odd, the way those guys behave. They're constantly over there talking about me for some damn reason. And the whole time, what he was bitching about today was me naming people's names in the titles of videos when I'm debunking that person. I don't see the problem.
No, because you're debunking their video, so you're going to refer to whatever they call themselves in their channel.
I only show pictures that have popped up on their channels. That's the only thing I use.
Why would you get butthurt about that?
I don't know.
They're not the most clear thinking of individuals, are they?
Isn't that the truth? They're like a bunch of babies.
Yeah.
Did you watch my right to hand video?
Yes, yeah. Oh boy. So
Yeah, oh boy.
he makes a statement about, they just say it's nuclear, and then he points at the control rods and goes, these things heat the steam up. No.
Boil
No.
the steam. Exactly how do you go about boiling steam?
Here's a man who was clearly never a nuke on board a submarine or anything. Never worked in a nuclear power station. Hasn't actually read up on how nuclear reactors work. I mean, they're control rods, dear boy. They're there to control the fuel rods and such like inside a nuclear reactor, and you don't boil the steam because it's already been boiled.
That's kind of how it became steam in the first place.
Yep. And of course, you can make it really hot if you get it under a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
I know that heating systems, let alone nuclear reactors. Blimey.
That's exactly what they do. They get very, very hot.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny though. You know, when you talk about power generation, I could. I can describe the way a nuclear reactor operates much easier than I can describe to you how a supercritical coal-fired conventional boiler functions. That's a lot more complicated.
Yes. Strangely enough, it is. Yeah. I mean, a nuclear reactor. Yes, okay, it's a complex bit of kit and there's lots of safety controls in place. But at the end of the day, you're not even having to burn a fuel like you are in a boiler to heat water to the point where it becomes steam, and you use steam to drive a turbine that creates electricity. It really is that simple.
Yeah, there's a gazillion systems involved in a coal-fired boiler. Starting out in the coal yard, you know, it's not a simple process at all. Very, very complicated.
Yeah.
And by comparison, a nuclear facility is really pretty simple.
Yeah.
But obviously, right to hand, just couldn't be bothered to spend 10 seconds and Google nuclear fission. I did that just for fun. Came up with 25,300,000 responses. You should be able to find something out of 25 million that tells you how the thing works, huh?
Yeah. How did he get it so wrong? I don't know whether you saw Mr. 42 did a summary of the two Daves, and as an aside, he had in there a couple of clips from Right the Hand, and one of them was Right the Hand explaining that basically gunpowder and explosives are atomic weapons because they have atoms in them. Because he said, "Oh, what's gunpowder made of?" And he's got like, you know, the I think it was like the molecular structure. He says, "Look at these. So it's got atoms in it. So therefore, this is an atomic weapon because it all comes down to atoms." It's like no. This we're just talking about conventional gunpowder here, conventional explosives. They're not atomic. It's really, it's quite stunning. It's quite something.
Yeah, it's just incredible to believe. Yeah, I mean, kids in grammar school already have a fundamental understanding of what happens when you split atoms, you know?
Yeah.
They're taught that at a fairly young age. And how a guy like Right the Hand manages to become the age he is and still doesn't know anything about this. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
What's that guy do? Does anybody know what he does?
No, not off the top of my head. Nothing as complicated as power generation.
Would be fun if he'd join up and regale us with his vast knowledge. All right, now George is back in Discord, but he's muted and deafened.
Oh dear.
George, unmute yourself. Let me type him a little message here.
Yeah. Oh
Saw
yes,
Jose out there.
that whole thing of right the hand was just so confusing because I think he was talking about using any metal. I think rather than just uranium. Yeah.
Yeah, he said something like that.
Problem is with guys like that, he's so wrong. You struggle to understand just what he's going on about.
Yeah, he said something crazy like it could be any kind of metal, whatever kind of metal.
Yeah, there's no specific reason why we use things like uranium. I mean,
Oh
silly, why
no,
don't we
no,
just-
no, no,
yeah.
There would be no good reason to use uranium-235 at all. That's
No.
just a bunch of engineers being picky.
That's it.
That's all. Yeah, I saw Jose out in the chat. Let's see who else that showed up. Hads, what's going on, man? The kit is out there.
Yes.
I like Epicurus. Hello there. Hey, Clive Wells. The Turtle Moves. Ian O'Hara. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize. Today, well, I suppose as usual for me, we don't have any plans whatsoever. We're just going to sit here and shoot the breeze. Have a little fun. Laugh at some of the idiocy that goes on.
There's plenty of that around, I'm afraid.
Have you kept up with MacToon's navigation challenge?
No, I haven't watched that yet, but I did see that somebody had sent in the right solution in literally a matter of minutes.
4 minutes. Yeah.
4 minutes. Blimey.
In 4
Was
minutes.
it Bacon? Did I see Bacon had done it or something?
I don't remember who it was, but somebody got it within 4 minutes.
That's pretty good going.
Oh, yeah. And if you can find the GP, right, of those stars, and you are clever enough to get a free copy of Google Earth, you too can probably do it in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Not
Personally,
hard to
I
do.
know I couldn't, but I leave that up to the navigators.
Well, if you've got circles of equal altitude, lines of position like that you can plot on a globe, an accurate one like Google Earth, oh yeah, you're going to get it. You're going to get the answer. Doofus is out there, says Bacon got it within a minute. I thought it was like 4 minutes, but hey, shout out to Bacon.
Wow.
A whole
And of
bunch of
course
people got it, though. I mean, a whole bunch of people got it very quickly.
And how many flat earthers have successfully done MC Toon's first challenge?
Not a frigging one.
Exactly. Count them on the fingers of one foot.
Yep.
All the clowns who said, "Oh, this can only work on the flat Earth using flat Earth geometry," and then it's like, come on, then. The science is definitely.
Shout out Judy Bassett for €7. Says, do you think right the hand could explain K effective? You kidding me? Right the hand couldn't explain a grocery shopping list. Hey, there's Lefty. Two left thumbs out there. How you doing, man? Lefty was the chief architect of the adjuster device that's used on Cavendish.
Yes, I remember that.
He
Yeah.
did a brilliant job. I mean, that thing is a piece of art for sure. It looked great in the pictures he sent me, and then when I got the thing, I didn't even want to touch it. It was too pretty.
I like that sort of engineering. When it's just a joy to behold. And I guess in my line of work, I do often see stuff like that. Then it gets hidden away out of sight and nobody ever sees it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the part I was happy about is where it needed to be on Cavendish, and it has to sit right up on top of that thing in a very prominent, very visible location. And it absolutely deserves to be up there, believe me. I had looked at going into all of that. That, of course, is a major concern when you're talking about putting that torsion balance inside an enclosure, and the entire amount that torsion balance can swing is less than 2 degrees. Then you're going to have a way to very accurately position that thing, right?
Yes.
And it was obvious to me that it needed to be a way to make a very fine adjustment to it if you ever wanted to get even close to being in the center of the enclosure. And I started out looking at the little gizmo that Pasco is a company that makes those things, little lab bench top type devices. And they had one that they used, basically had like a big O-ring, a little shaft and a big wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally designed it to look like that, but after Lefty got his hands on it and looked at it, he wasn't, and built it, he wasn't too happy with the way the thing was operating. So he came up with a little, it's sort of a worm gear, not exactly, but sort of like a worm gear drive. And that worked marvelously. Absolutely marvelously. One entire turn of the adjuster wheel will pretty much take that beam from lock to lock. So that's plenty of adjustment. That's just fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's George doing? Is he still muted over there?
Yes, he's still muted and deafened, so he can't talk to us and he can't hear us anyway. So I don't quite know what he's up to.
I don't know either. But hey, anybody else that feels like joining, be my guest.
We just had Noellen, but he dropped again. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, they'll trickle in.
Yeah.
I didn't set this thing up very far ahead of time, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Well, set it up 30 minutes ahead of time before I realized I had it marked as private. So, they don't, for some strange reason, they don't notify anybody when you tell them it's private.
Yeah, funny that, eh?
Yeah. Damn technology.
I know.
But yeah, that was going back to MacToon's challenge. It's amazing how easy that is if the Earth is a globe, and how impossible it obviously is if you think the damn thing's flat.
Yeah.
And the only person to even make a semi-attempt at it's been Brian Leakey, and of course you might know it'd be Brian, right?
Yes. Now I did watch Toon's stream on that, and Brian trying to present that equation and do his mathematics, and having to use the radius of the Earth to try and get it to work, and it was just gobbledygook.
Well, he actually claimed he didn't. He claimed that if you, I don't know, I haven't checked it out yet, but he claimed that if you backed off from the North Pole by 1 degree, that's what gives you the 3959 altitude for Polaris. I don't know if that's right or not. I haven't even checked it.
No, I don't know.
We could, of course, if we wanted to. Hey, 59 people watching. Thanks for showing up, everybody.
Feel free to come on in because at the moment there's me and Blue, and we don't know what George is doing.
Yeah.
He's just.
George
I don't know
is
whether
stuck.
he's having a problem. Yeah, he's deafened. He's muted. He's yeah.
Shout out to Sean Hawkins out there. Sean says, wow, Nathan Oakley is a dishonest sack of crap and desperate as hell.
Can't argue with that.
Well, yeah, I think he's pretty much shown everyone that he is a dishonest sack of crap. That would be for sure. I don't know what that's a link to, but I assume it's one of Nathan's shows.
MC Toon Total Meltdown proves Earth is flat. Oh, it's one of these little YouTube shorts.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I ain't listening to it, but that's the. MC Toon has a total meltdown as he details celestial navigation on the flat Earth. Really?
Huh. Don't often see McToon having a meltdown.
Have I ever seen him have a meltdown? I've seen him once or twice get a little bit stroppy, and that takes some doing because he's hello. Coming, George.
Yeah, I've tried restarting several times and I still have Blue muted and I can't hear him at all. I don't know what's going on with Discord.
Oh, goodness. That's a
Maybe
Discord
Blue's
malfunction.
just doing it on purpose. He doesn't want me to hear him.
So you didn't just hear him talking over you?
No,
No.
I didn't hear him.
No. That's a bugger then, because I did.
Yeah, because I mean, his name doesn't even light up. I don't know what's going on. Like I say, is I tried restarting several times, and he just keeps coming up with his microphone muted. So I'll just disappear.
Right.
I got plenty of things that I can do with work right
Well,
now. So
tell him to hold on. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me drop
What I
Dave from
may
Discord
do,
and restart.
I'll just turn off,
Hang
restart
on,
my. Still muted. I'm going to shut my system down and reboot the whole system and see if that fixes it.
Okay.
All right. Can you? Yeah, you hearing me, Farmers?
I've got you fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to be a problem at George's end because you and me are getting each other fine. So. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I went all the way out of Discord and back in. There's nothing else I can do.
No. I mean, your Discord's working fine. My Discord seems to be working fine. George, on the other hand, yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. It'll get sorted.
Yeah.
He was having
Yeah.
He was obviously having that problem earlier because before we went live, he was there and I was yelling at him, trying to get his attention.
And of course, he can't hear you.
Yeah. And for a few minutes, he actually did hear me, but then something went wrong. I don't know.
No.
Well, let's see who else we got. We got S. Thurston. Splurge is out there. Chris Durham, what's going on? And what is that? Redracer?
Red Racer 1.
Yeah.
Did you see when Nathan issued a challenge to debate Professor Dave? Really? I'm guessing that would be in Nathan's channel, because we all know what happens when Mr. Oakley debates away from his channel and his mute button.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah, he throws a hissy fit.
Yeah, Nathan's not about to leave the comfort of his mute button,
No.
especially not to go up against a guy like Professor Dave.
No.
Dave would absolutely destroy him.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure whether Professor Dave would actually accept something like that. I mean, look at what he just did to Dirt. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just...
Dirt had nothing, no answers. Nothing.
No, at best he had straw man arguments, but by and large, when you listen to him, all he had was lies. Just blatant, in-your-face lies. Oh, nobody's
Yeah.
at the South Pole. Nobody works in Antarctica. You can't go there. Yeah, right. How do you answer something as ridiculous as that?
I don't know.
And that's better than what Nathan does.
We've got guys that frequent these chats, people we know like Charlie, who spend time in Antarctica, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something about my misspent youth. I am not any longer, but was an amateur radio operator. And in the early 70s, or I'd say early to mid 70s, I had a pretty nice setup. 2 kWPEP linear amplifier, single sideband transceiver, all the goodies, and a big 3-element beam, Yagi as people will call it, on a tower outside the house there with a rotator and all that stuff. And I went through a period there of about, it was a good 2 months, where for some odd reason, during afternoon hours from, say, 2 o'clock until maybe 5 in the afternoon, just about every day, I had absolute perfect communications with those guys down in McMurdo. And
Wow.
on the weekends, when I was off work on Saturdays and Sundays, I would spend my afternoons running telephone patches for those guys. They've got no way to communicate. I mean, there's in those days, no satellite communication, no undersea cables, nothing like that. Their communication with the outside world was strictly through the amateur radio station they had down there.
Hmm.
And we had a way that, you could connect a telephone service to my radio system. And I could let them talk to their family.
Cool.
So they would simply give me the number. I'd call the family collect. They would accept the charges. And then all I had to do was just sit back and push the talk button for them.
Yeah.
So I got to know a whole lot of those guys, and a lot of the families too.
I bet.
Through all of that. So don't tell me that you can't go to the South Pole. Not only can you go, you get a hell of a time talking to anybody when you get there, or at least in those days you did. Today they got satellite phones and all that stuff, but wasn't true back then. So, maybe they were lying to me. All I know is I had my damn beam pointed due south. So that was in the right direction.
But yeah, I mean, this day and age, like Professor Dave said, you could get a job down there. You could go and work down there. You can take cruises there.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
all
they're
this
always
nonsense-
looking. They're always looking for people to go work down there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's by and large, it's going to be select trades because, it's Antarctica after all. But even so, the documentaries, the few I've seen, the people who work down there. I mean, it's a complete community. So you've got the admin side, you've got shops, you've got maintenance, you've got everything that any other large village, small town, whatever would need, or sort of, and that's just at McMurdo. So yeah, you've got jobs that need doing. That not everybody's a research scientist, and not everybody's going out in the ice and the snow. There's all the more mundane side of life that needs taken care of as well.
Well, somebody's got to cook, somebody's got to clean. You got all that stuff that's got to be done.
Who'd you call when your plumbing breaks down and your toilets are blocked and all the rest of it?
All the rest of it. You got it.
Yep, all of that needs taken care of by somebody.
In fact, he wants to know if I mounted my antenna on top of my dinosaur. Facty, go to your room, damn it. Hello,
Okay,
dog
sir.
walker. What's going on?
Yeah, Dirk couldn't get a job there. I mean, what could he do that's of any practical value?
Well, there are no used car lots. So,
Nope.
and best I can tell from listening to him, it would be about the only thing I can think of he might be good at. I'm sorry, not used cars, pre-owned vehicles. That's the politically correct thing.
Oh, we're not allowed to call them used cars anymore. Not or over here we just tend to call them second hand.
WS says he's got a clip for me over there. So
Oh yeah.
let me take a second and
Oh, that doesn't.
oops. Well, there you go. I managed to shut myself down again.
Wonder what happened. Oh dear.
Farmers, why are you kicking Blue?
This is exactly. He kicked himself. Christ knows what's going on.
Who
I
kicked
can't
me?
kick Blue. At least I
Why are
don't
you
think I
guys
can.
Why are you guys kicking me? Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I could do things, but I can't kick him, and rightly so. It's his bloody server.
Let's see if
That's why it's excessively mean.
Oh,
trying to
there we
figure out.
go. Here I am in my office talking to myself, and the bloody cat comes in again. Piss off.
I found a really cool. This video popped up today about Antarctica. It's like the apex predator, the leopard seal.
Yes, the leopard seal. Yeah.
Guys are vicious, man.
Yep.
This video came out what, the 1st of April?
Flat.
Right. I'll link it.
A face.
But they even
See,
killed
he does also use the face of the earth,
named
Yeah, 'cause-
Kirsty Brown.
and a
She was
geometric
diving within the
face is a
Because I
They're
think
vicious.
they're
planar
Look,
they're quite
surface.
size,
They look
aren't
like
they?
dinosaurs.
It's flat.
Hmm?
A face,
I think they're quite a size.
the
As
face
seals
of a
go, they're
claw.
not exactly small. I don't think.
Yeah.
or the face of the moon. See, he does also use the face of the earth,
And like they got teeth like
and a
Tyrannosaurus
geometric
Rex.
face is
Oh yeah, they are.
planar
Yeah,
surface,
they are
actually.
complete predators. Yeah, because
flat,
of course down at the South Pole you haven't got
face.
anything like polar bears.
like the face of a
Well, they've
clock.
got their only predator is the orcas.
See,
Yes.
he does also use the
And they're vicious too. They're mean when they kill penguins. Not even to eat them. They'll play cat and mouse with them. But yeah, that's one. They're kind of creepy, man. Scary. AF. One more excuse for Flurfs not to go down there.
You're okay as long as you stay out of the water. And to be honest, who wants to go in the water? It's that bloody cold.
Yeah, there's these people called scientists, these pesky scientists.
Well,
down
good
there.
luck to them, you know. Oh, good grief. Looks like somebody's going to have to rearrange his desk again.
But speaking of science, is there any branch of science that the Flurfs can't screw up? Now nuclear reactors don't require radioactive material.
Well, yeah,
Any metal will do. Do I understand this?
yeah, pretty much. I think that's what Right the Hand was saying. Yes, he completely he slagged off people for not understanding how nuclear reactors work, and then he clearly demonstrated that he didn't understand either. You know, he just points at it, go, oh, the nuclear stuff happens here, as he's pointing at the control rods.
Well, you just plug it in like an iron or
Yeah.
a toaster.
That's it, and it heats the steam. Yeah, right. So
turns the generator.
Yeah,
And there,
of course,
voila, electricity.
of course.
So
you don't.
How
heat
does
the
that? How does that business conference go? Like, or that executive board meeting go there? It's like, okay, here's the plan. We're gonna use electricity to produce steam to produce electricity. I thought,
Why would anybody do that?
Most businesses are out there to make money, and as Professor, as a PhD Tony says, and other people say, money talks and bullshit walks, and that is not a business plan.
Right. Blue Marble appears to be showing this little clip that
Yeah, I'm going to try to
Okay,
play
right.
this.
Cat, can you tell me
I
something?
think it may have accidentally been going out to the YouTube when I was getting this thing set up. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it or not. It doesn't last very long though. So
Well, this is from Bev's channel because you can
yeah.
tell from all the crap at the bottom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
You know,
let's
the 90s wants their web page back.
let me try.
But you can tell. I don't think I've ever visited his channel.
Let me
Well, this is from one of his live YouTube streams because he tends to have an awful lot of stuff going on the screen. You know, because reasons. Who wants a nice clean layout when you have lots of distracting crap?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me try playing this. Hopefully you
I was
guys
a
will hear
member of
it.
his server for 2 days, and I thought, no, I need to have a shower. I'm leaving. It's just, no.
Oh, I see the problem. I had muted myself.
Farmers.
So
now you're muting him.
It's not me.
now you can hear me, right? Yeah.
Yes, now we can hear
me. All right, let me try playing this Bev clip. Hopefully you guys can hear it. I don't know if you can or not. We'll see.
We'll
it's
try
real.
it.
It's real short though.
Okay.
See, he does also use the face of the earth, and a geometric face is it's a planar surface actually. It's flat, a face, like the face of a clock, or the face of the moon. See, he does also use the face.
What?
No, we didn't hear that.
Oh goodness. Yeah, there's some button I'm supposed to push and I haven't pushed it yet.
No.
When you go to share, it asks you if you want to share your audio as well.
Oh, in Discord?
I think that's where you're showing it, yeah.
Well, let me have a look.
So I guess you'd have to stop sharing and then share again. And then add share volume, share audio when you share.
Oh, share system audio.
Right.
All right. We'll try that. Maybe that's what's wrong.
Take two.
Yeah, let me pull this thing back to the beginning. Get back on all the right screens over here. Now let's see if you guys hear it.
See, he does also use the face of the earth.
10-4.
And a geometric face is it's a planar surface, actually. It's flat. A face.
I hear
Like
it.
the
I'm not
face
sure
of a
I'm glad
clock.
I hear it.
Or the
Yeah,
face
the
of
only
the
problem
moon.
is we can hear Bev.
Yeah. You just said the face of the moon is flat. So
So
what?
It's a geometric surface, therefore it's a planar surface, therefore it's flat. I wasn't going to open that bottle of wine in the fridge, but I might need alcohol to get through this.
Yeah, if we do very much more of it, you will.
This little globe that I'm holding, what geometric shape would that be, Mr. Bev?
OMG.
Boy, the hits just keep on coming, don't they?
Don't they just?
If all geometry is a plane, then in fact the whole universe is a plane. If it's the only kind of geometry that exists, everything is a plane.
Yeah, S. Thurston makes a point. This is Lindsay Harris territory. Yeah, wine will not suffice. I'm getting low on the vodka, to be honest, and I am supposed to work tomorrow, so yeah, I don't know. This could be tricky.
Yes, it could. They are creative, though. You would think that after a while they would run out of stupid shit to say. But on a daily basis, they come up with brand new derp every freaking day. I don't know how they get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That really does take some doing. They're very creative.
The most abundant element in the universe. There's never a shortage of derp.
Well, to be fair, they also are combining their powers to come up with the derp.
Yeah.
Mega derp.
Yeah. The flat moon.
Somebody's gonna make a cartoon, with Captain Derp.
Assemble.
By our powers combined.
I'm just checking that somebody hasn't already. Captain Derp on Instagram, Captain Derp on YouTube, Captain Derp in SoundCloud. I think somebody might have beaten you to it, but I don't know quite what level of derpitude that actually is. No. It's quite stunning his misunderstanding of the most simple and concept of basics. But like I said before, when your whole premise is level is horizontal, and when everything is built on that, and that is so obviously wrong, then yeah, they don't stand a chance, do they?
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, he couldn't elaborate hill to die on.
And it wasn't that long ago where he was quite happily proclaiming himself to be a flat earther, and he's trying to reinvent himself as some sort of expert in geometry because he's trying to sell himself as a surveyor, and that quite clearly didn't work.
Right.
And now he's dropped the whole "I'm a flat earther" thing because, reasons. Although you'll you'll never get a straight answer out of him when you ask him, well, what actually is the shape of the Earth then? He will not give you a straight answer, because if he was honest, his answer would in as many words be saying, I'm a flat earther. And he spent too long denying that now. They all have. None of him and his mob are flat earthers.
Well, I know what he's thinking. What happened is, like you said, he just used to be a run-of-the-mill flurf, right? Spouting nonsense. But he found his raison d'être, his by because somebody hurt his feelings. Specifically, I shouldn't talk about it because it's personal, but he made it his cause, you know, his mission to only do one thing and one thing only, is say that, you know, flat is horizontal, is level is horizontal. Don't even have to mention the flat. That word doesn't exist.
Well, it's incredibly dishonest the way those guys go about trying to portray themselves.
Yeah.
Their excuse is, well, no, we're not flat earthers because the Earth has terrain.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's call a spade a spade. You may not be a flat earther. What you are is a flat waterer. You believe the water is flat.
No, there's waves.
No, because it's out of context. It's not playing according to the rules. It's disobeying the rule of implicature. So when you say that, if you ask somebody the Earth is flat, if they say no, why? Like, and they straw man you like you're the person that doesn't believe in topography. It's just dishonest on its face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's flat Earth.
You are totally correct.
And
dishonest on
no
its
reason
face.
to take anybody like that seriously. It's a sea lion posture. And if you can't answer a straight question, like what is the shape, or aren't you even curious as to what the shape is, then you know it's like, what are you doing here? It's just it's like not even snake oil selling.
Yeah, just be who you are. Be proud of it, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make excuses for it.
He's flat and proud, you know. Wear it on your sleeve. Even Oakley says he calls himself a flat earther. At least Oakley does that. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe Bev should come out of that flat closet. Just admit it and like get it done with.
Well, when it has every other characteristic of what people that call themselves flat earthers believe, from lights in the sky, the whole argument about luminaries, everything, except that they try to draw this silly distinction that they don't think the Earth is flat because it has terrain. Jesus. And then Bev comes up with these goofy ass remarks like, "Oh, I only came here because I got called a child molester." Now, how does that work?
Well, that's his origin story. So he's gonna double, because he said he was abusive because he taught his kid that the Earth. He's like, no, I don't teach my kid that the Earth is flat. I teach my kid that the level is horizontal. That is his origin story. That's how he turned into the thing that we see now.
That's just entirely crazy to me. Somebody said I'm a child abuser. Now I know what I'll do. I'll start a YouTube channel. That'll fix it.
Yeah.
What?
I'll start a YouTube channel and talk shit.
Yeah.
And expose myself to an awful lot of public.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, and play the
And
permanent victim card.
and at the same time expose this child that I'm supposedly protecting to a whole lot of people who vehemently disagree with the idea that level is horizontal.
I have to tell have to explain to people, foreigners, every day, the difference between make and do. Yeah, in most languages it's like the same. I explain that make is, well, the exception is we make mistakes. It's not really an exception because we create mistakes, don't we? All Bev had to do was nothing. Now he's something about putting up security cameras. Come on, all he had to do was nothing.
Putting up
Speaking of
security
nuclear
cameras.
reactors, it's like the what was it, Mile Island, the the China syndrome. All they had to do when the reactor was nothing, and it would have taken care of itself, but they made it worse. And in Bev's case, all he had to do is like not, be a flat earther. But no, it got worse, and it's what he's become now.
Yeah.
Making the difference between make and do.
Well, I think it was, I thought it was pretty funny that, they effectively threatened me. They essentially screwed up what I was trying to do with Cavendish and the University of Tennessee by being a bunch of assholes. And then all of a sudden, Bev is the one that feels threatened and needs a security camera. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the reason I said anything was just to see if I should connect to the right channel. There is a dichotomy between making and doing. Like, do you make eggs or do you cook eggs?
Yeah, you don't.
Right.
I don't make eggs.
Yeah,
I don't make eggs. I don't make them scrambled. I don't make them boiled or fried.
Oh, I make them over easy. I make them over easy. I make them sunny side up. I make them for breakfast.
No, you do them over easy, surely.
Yeah, you don't make them.
There's a difference between making and doing.
You cook them.
Yeah, you cook them. You don't make them. They're already there. You just sort of modify them somehow.
Oh, chicken.
No, the reason I stepped in at that point was because I was trying to work out if you could hear me or not, and it turns out you can. So
yes, we can hear you, although you're not exactly crystal clear.
Yeah, you sound a little bit canned.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's things. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I'll take a back seat, but I know I'm in the conversation. I'll maybe contribute more in a minute. I'm not hogging it. I'm not. Yeah. No, there is this thing of in America, there's this thing that you make lots of things that are already made. You're actually cooking them.
Well, like you make the bed, and we make exceptions. That's one thing that English is really good at.
Making exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or bad at.
Every now and then.
Well, the English, apparently the basics is quite easy to learn, and then it all goes downhill rapidly.
I've made a lot of friends on Facebook.
Oh yeah, how's that then?
I have with a 3D printer.
You actually assembled them, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's one way of making them.
That is the way to go.
Well, then you got nobody to blame but yourself.
Oh, you didn't cook them either. No.
That's right. Never cook your friends.
Why?
Setting up extra security cameras means you think you've made some enemies.
What a scam.
I massively rudely interrupted that. It was just purely to see if I was audible, not to break the conversation. But it worked. That I had broken the conversation. Sorry.
No, you sound good. You sound okay, Lefty.
Mm.
Going back to Bev, he I think he put out today something from, I think it was last Wednesday, and I just happened to listen to whatever point I started listening to this, live stream, repeat of a live stream, and he said, "Oh, it's been a funny old day. We've been under attack a lot." I thought, nobody's attacking you. People are picking holes in your piss poor arguments and pointing out where you're wrong, but nobody is attacking you. And I think he's building up this, or he's been and still is building up this whole victim persona to try and justify pleading for money for a security system at his home. Unless, of course, wherever he lives, he's been winding people up. Because I'm fairly certain that nobody here in the UK that is involved in this in any way, shape, or form would actually go and track down where he lives and go and threaten him. Because A, that's stupid, and B, I don't think any of us really cares that much. I'm sure if I wanted to, I could find out where he lives. A, he's quite a drive from me because he's up north somewhere, and I can't be asked. And B, I don't care. He's just another idiot on the internet.
Who's that? Is that Bev or?
Yeah, Bev. Didn't you see he did that whole sort of crowdfunding thing on some religious website and got over £3,000 for home security and updating his PC.
So yeah, he's not just
you need.
He's not really paranoid. He's just scamming.
Yeah, but seems quite likely. I've got no interaction with Bev at all, other than seeing what people like Blue have come up with.
Yeah.
The man's got a big mouth for his size, I'd guess.
He has. I have unfortunately once seen him in the flesh and heard that god awful voice of his. It carries. Oh boy, does it carry.
Sorry to interrupt. What does he claims happened to him at his house that means he has to have a security camera?
Hello, Rumpus. No, he hasn't actually claimed anything. I've just pulled up. I've pulled up the Give, Send, Go page because I want to see how much he finally got, and it's £3,719. I quote: "Due to recent events and the intimidation tactics within the community, I feel the threat against me should be recorded, and for this, a security camera on the outside of my house, an upgraded computer for the continued progress of the Try Thinking YouTube channel would be extremely useful, as would be some punctuation." Oh, sorry, I added that bit.
Wait.
He's basically saying he feels threatened within the community. Presumably, this is the flat Earth
But virtually, but he's not claiming he's feeling threatened virtually, but physically.
Wait.
Or both.
What
I mean,
community
weird.
does he mean by the community? Does he mean his community or?
Well, you see, this is the thing. Because of where he posted this on this Give, Send, Go, which is some sort of religious GoFundMe, basically, no in his description of why he wants the money does he make any mention of flat Earth.
But also, he could have just really pissed people off in his village, right?
Yes, he could well have done, because if he's on about what happens in amongst all this community online, why would you need security cameras when it's all happening on the internet?
Oh, right. Do we think he's being other people are finding him offensive? Is some locally is finding him offensive, and those are the people he's trying to fend off?
It's one of two options. He's either actually pissed off people in real life in his local area, or this is, of course, just a grift to get money.
And he sort of conflated them together because he feels a bit threatened online, and then possibly locally he feels threatened, and therefore he's combined them together and saying, "Look, I'm being attacked on all sides, or threatened on
Yeah.
all sides."
That's why it's very vague. Could you read it again, please? Due to what exactly?
Right. Well, I'll
Due
read
to-
you. Do you actually want to hear the whole thing?
No, just the due to for sentence, full stop.
Okay. Due to recent events and the intimidation tactics within the community,
That's
I
all.
feel-
That's all.
Yeah. That's basically what he said. I feel the threat against me should be recorded, and for this, a security camera on the outside of my house. Blah blah blah.
Recent events. That's something more like local thing, because I don't think anything particular has happened virtually to him as an event, has it?
No.
The recent event.
Maybe he's just sorry, Blue.
The recent event I think that he was referring to was some clown tried to porn bomb his Discord or something.
Yeah, that was last week, wasn't it?
Right. That's
that's right. Yes, they let somebody into the Discord server, into their live chat, and there was allegations of porn bombing. But I suspect I know what it was because I was actually listening to it at the time.
Well, I happened to look at it as well, and I saw what happened, and it was a porn bomb.
Oh right,
Someone was feigning to be it was some Glober of some sort, was feigning to be possibly the most irritating person. I mean, he was even more irritating than Bev. He kept on changing, saying, "I know, it's incredible. I know. I'm stretching your imagination here." But I was thinking, who's this guy who's actually more annoying than Bev? And then he then said something about the fact that looking in a boat. He was basically saying that boats should lean forwards or backwards because of the shape of the Earth, because he was saying how Globers and everybody was indoctrinated at school and things. But then it turned out he was a Glober pretending to be some sort of strange flat earther, and then porn bombed him. But I thought this request went out before that happened. I mean, this was last Wednesday, I think.
Yes, this request went out before then. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's got anything to do with that.
No. It's a grift. He's looked at other people, and probably the likes of Oakley.
Yes, he's always going on about money and people gaining money, isn't he? All the time. It's his favourite theme about subscribers and God knows what. He's always talking about the money they're getting. Sorry.
No, I think everybody is pretty well aware of the horse shit that Bev and Rocky have pulled on me with Cavendish and what I was trying to do, which was nothing more than a very low-key attempt to let people that actually contributed to Cavendish have a chance to go and see the thing in person. That's all.
Yeah, but when Racket did that,
they turned that into an absolute circus, or tried to, and they got a great deal of very negative publicity out of that. Now, I don't know of anybody that threatened to do anything. I certainly didn't. But I think this was originally concocted by Bev as a way to try to deflect away from some of the stuff that he himself did to make himself look bad. Now he's going for the sympathy side of it. That's really my opinion. Because it all happened right on that. This all really happened right on the heels of that bullshit that they pulled about UT.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This site that he posted on, was it an American thing or was it a British thing?
Where is it based? Where is it? I can't look. I'll put the link in Blue's live chat so you can have a look yourself. It
seems to be basically an excuse for Rakia to give him lots of money because Rakia's got what's swimming in cash and. Likes obviously this is what Bev provides him with a place to be and vent whatever he does and then sort of abuse Blue and things. Although I must have, when he was claiming he's going to come down to whatever it was, and I think he would claim it was all an obvious joke. I mean, to me it wasn't. It was clear to me he wasn't being serious. He was just sort of putting on a sort of swagger and just sort of trying to be annoying. I don't think he was ever suggesting it seriously, although if he took the words literally then yes, but I don't think he was. But nonetheless, I think Bev provides him with a platform just to spout his drivel and to be quite unpleasant to people. I pointed out to him a few weeks ago that he seems to be getting more. He started off being quite a reasonable sort of guy supposedly, but week on week and month on month he's actually become worse and worse until he's one of the worst ones. Not very Christian really.
No.
Well,
Hey guys,
I
is my
don't.
mic working?
Yeah,
Okay, just checking.
5 by 5.
Trying to get a word in against Rumpus is ridiculous.
Sorry.
But I actually have a question about a nuclear reactor.
Oh God, I saw that. Well, good video, Blue.
Yeah, my only question is, where does the original neutron come from to start the whole process?
Well, just spontaneous.
It
Yeah.
is. Okay. So the uranium is already doing that, correct?
Yeah.
And then that's all I want. I couldn't get an answer for that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it can. It depends on the uranium. Which isotope.
Well, let's keep it simple for me. And the uranium just does it. That's what makes it radioactive.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does it more. You see, if you put lots of uranium atoms together that are doing this sort of thing, one neutron hitting them sets them off as well. So if you just had one by itself, or them displaced very far away from one another, they go along at a particular rate. But if you put them very close to one another, where the actual neutrons that are being emitted, and you get this chain reaction thing, then one causes another one to go, and therefore you have a chain reaction, and ultimately it would go off in a big bang in an atomic bomb. But if you keep them separated, where these neutrons don't hit one another, other atoms, then you use the control rods to determine how many of these neutrons are absorbed.
As I understand it, you have to plug it in first before it starts up.
Well, yeah, after
Well,
you
no,
plug
uranium's
it in
doing it
there.
all the time. Sorry.
Well, we're civilized over here in the States. We use gas to boil our tea water. We don't plug it into 220.
We do 240.
Well,
Technically 230, but who cares?
Yeah, it does vary. It does wiggle around. Yeah.
230,
But the point is that
240,
uranium
whatever it
just
takes.
does this. But if you hit uranium, that's one of the two isotopes. If you hit one of them with a neutron, it will cause it to go. But it will also spontaneously go all by itself. But it will go definitely if you bash it with a neutron. And the thing is that one uranium, when it breaks up, when it spontaneously decays, it gives off a neutron. It gives off 3, as Blue pointed out in his video. And therefore, if you have them, if they're next to another uranium atom, then that will hit off that one, and then off you go, and then that will hit off 3, and another one will hit off 3, and it's so providing more than one of those 3 hit another uranium atom, you've got a sustained chain reaction.
Yeah.
The amazing thing about that video, Blue, is he obviously had Googled something, but he stopped at page 1/2, I think.
That's a real fine, Blue. I mean, to get so many things wrong, it's almost worthy of a Brand's Logic Award, actually. Flying. It's almost as bad as the flying one.
Yeah, that's some Mitchell from Australia stuff there.
Yes.
Yeah, I ran across that last night and could not believe what I was listening to. Incredible.
Yeah, the whole nuclear reactor thing is just hilarious. I mean, it's not as if we haven't had 2 major incidents like in quite recent years. It's like Chernobyl, Fukushima, both pretty bad ones, and how reactors worked was plastered all over the place. It's like the last one of those was 11 years ago.
Well, the amazing thing is it really does work much like a tea kettle. You boil water.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're heating up water to create steam, and you're using the steam to push a turbine.
Right, but if you look real closely, it's like 3 different loops. The first, there's like, to keep the containment.
Yeah.
The second
that,
heats up again, which heats up
when,
another bit. Then
when
there's
you
another bit
break
that
it
cools.
right down to the most basic principle, you're heating up water to generate steam, and that jet of steam drives a turbine, and that turbine is it's a generator and it's creating.
It's a water boiler, basically.
Yes,
it's like putting a pinwheel in front.
Yes,
like putting a pinwheel in front of a boiling kettle of water.
Correct. And that's what they're doing, whether it's on land and it's a nuclear power plant to create electricity, or a much smaller, more contained system on board a submarine. But it's doing exactly the same thing. You're creating electricity. And of course, the big bonus with submarines is it doesn't need an air supply to work.
Yeah, very important for submarines. Yeah.
Yes, the only thing on board a submarine that needs an air supply are those wretched sailors.
Well, actually,
And
they
Damn
don't.
True says
and
it
even
does.
then,
That's right. They get
yeah,
that
well, they
from water.
generate their own oxygen supply anyway, don't they?
That's right. The
Yeah,
only
from water.
thing that a submarine needs is food.
Food.
That's,
That's
other
what they
than
run
that,
out
it
of.
doesn't need a
Yes.
sausage.
That's what limits how long, and because obviously, particularly the boomers, the ballistic missile carrying submarines, when they leave port and dive, in theory, there's absolutely no reason for them to ever surface again until they've run out of food and they have to come back to port. And that's pretty much what they do, because you don't want them to surface, because that gives them away. So they go out and dive, and they can, and generally do, stay submerged. And you can only do that because you've got a nuclear reactor on board that's an air-independent propulsion system.
And you have all these nice, wonderful new couples when you return to deck.
All of a sudden, everybody's very friendly with each other. Yeah.
It's only queer if it's tied to the pier.
There you go. But yeah, at the end of the day, you've got a big nuclear-powered kettle that's making steam, so you can create electricity.
Exactly. Charlie makes a good point in the chat too. He says, point out that depleted uranium is not what results from the fission of U-235. That's a fact. What results from the fission of U-235 will be two much lighter elements, like barium and krypton. That's two real popular ones, right?
Yeah.
Get a lot of that stuff. That's not what depleted uranium is. Depleted uranium is still it's mostly U-238. And it's termed depleted uranium, I think, when the percentage of U-235 in it drops to something less than like 0.3%.
Yeah, something like that.
It's no longer fissionable.
That's right. It's no longer used to them as a fuel, but
Which is
obviously,
why it's depleted.
yes.
It's depleted,
but because
exactly.
it's such a dense material, it's very good as turning into penetrators for, I don't know, 30mm rounds fired from an Avenger robot.
I have to admit, when I was watching your video, Blue, I had to turn it off at least 3 times and say, "What the living hell? Can someone really be this stupid?"
Well, doesn't he deny the existence of electrons or particles or something like that? And also, I think he denies what acceleration is and time. I think he denies time as well. So, I mean, this is just one of many problems he's got.
Have a look at his channel. He put out a video 7 days ago called "Proof TNT Are Atomic Bombs."
God.
And that's because he thinks he's showing a diagram of an atomic structure of TNT, therefore atoms, therefore it's atomic bombs.
Oh my God!
I kid you not. Go and watch it.
That's what happens when you have between this guy, between what you did to write the hand, and Professor Dave on Dearth. I'm like severely wondering whether humanity is going to choke on their own vomit in the next couple of years.
I think this is why alien intelligence has left us well alone.
Well, these are the exceptions. I mean, this is not typical. I mean, these flatties do make you despair for humanity, but you just have to bear in mind that although we see a lot of them on the internet, this is about, how many people on the internet? I don't know, 2-3 billion people. This is really quite a small percentage. So
I mean,
you just have to hope.
Professor Dave just handed Dearth his butt, and again and again and again, and he kept on with it. And I'm going like, geez.
He got a few things wrong, though, did Professor Dave. There was some things he didn't understand. Some of the point he didn't understand, for instance, Dearth's point about the equinox and the angle, and a couple of other things he didn't explain very. I wasn't terribly impressed by his performance.
He's not a full-time flat Earth debunker, so he doesn't understand a lot of the the little bullshit.
Well, he also made when he did one of the videos he made about 10 points against why the Earth is not flat. 3 of them were completely wrong. He got the maths wrong and the points wrong. So he's got a bit of a history of getting stuff wrong on this subject. Although he obviously, when you look at his channel, he's got a lot of impressive stuff coming out.
Yeah,
that's prepared stuff. When he seems to be put on the spot, unfortunately, he gets quite a lot wrong, and I'm not too impressed with him, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Well, I think his background is more chemistry than anything else, isn't it?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But, he shouldn't be... still no excuse for getting stuff wrong. I mean, if he's going to get involved in that debate, and I mean, he didn't seem to understand some basic things that Dirth was. I mean, obviously Dirth's an idiot, but nonetheless, there were 2 or 3 things he got that were completely wrong and didn't understand one of the points that Dirth was making about the angle to the sun, which was, I'm sure, I'm sure something like Farmers or Blue here or anybody else here would have been able to understand what was going on and respond
He was
initially,
trying.
perhaps a bit more practiced.
I think what
They're
he's trying to ask
basic
was
to us
what.
because we're used to their
Yeah,
nonsense. And
possibly.
yeah, I mean, you know exactly what Dirth is trying to say and how wrong he is. Dave hears it for the first time and whatever, and it's like, what? And so he's just going on his best guess off what he's heard.
Yeah, but he did resort to the what? Yes, you're stupid without actually. I mean, I like to call people stupid when I can see exactly what they're arguing for and how stupid they are, and I explain to them exactly why they're being stupid. Whereas he didn't do that. He just came with "you're being stupid," which is great. But I like to see that combined with the reasons why someone's being stupid. And I didn't think he did that terribly. I mean, he did okay, I suppose. But I mean, I think Blue or Peyton Asashill or someone or any number of other people on here would have done a better job, basically.
I think what Dirth was trying to ask is why doesn't it get cold at night? And the answer is it does.
That was another point.
Yes,
I mean,
it
the
does.
point he was making was about the equinox and the angle. That's right. No, the point he was making was the angle of the sun. If we're saying that the seasons are caused, getting cold or whatever, is by the sun being at a lower angle, then he was saying, well, how come in the during the day we have a similar angle for the sun and he was saying winter when we have in other words, when in the winter the noon, obviously that has a similar angle for the sun when it's at summer in the morning. And his point was, well, how come it's warm in the summer morning and not warm in a summer's day, but a winter's noon? But actually it is. It's just the air obviously starts off being a lot warmer, which I think is the point you're just making, Peyton Asashill. But actually, in fact, Brian had made the very same argument about 6 months ago on something. And indeed, if you do go out on a morning, if the air temperatures start off the same, the actual incident value, the heat energy from the sun, is actually the same. It's just dependent on the angle in the sky. But
Yeah, they don't understand
this.
they just don't understand the concept of a thermal mass.
I would say.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Can you hear me, anyone?
Yeah, you're a bit
Yeah,
distorted.
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. That's not just my crap voice.
That's your microphone. You're breaking in and out and all
think-
sorts of things.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, go.
Well, yeah, you're just a bit muffled.
Yeah, that's all sorts of biological reasons.
No, it's definitely something to do with electronics.
Okay. Well, if you can bear with me. I find it odd that people put their qualifications before their first name. Like Professor Dave, for instance, and there are lots of Professor What's-Its on the internet. I query how.
I think we're losing
Could
half your
even
words.
Well, Professor
Yeah.
Dave actually was a real professor. He actually taught at a real school for a while. That's this professor title.
Yeah, but
Professor's like a job description, really.
Yeah, in the UK, it's a different thing.
No, I don't know.
Is Professor Dave the Australian guy? I don't know.
Well, Dave's an American, I believe.
Okay, right. So, like in the UK, you become a lecturer or a reader or whatever. Or you go from lecturer to reader, then you become professor if you get the chair. And it's like a top-notch job to be a professor in academia.
Yeah.
Whereas in other places, as soon as you start teaching anything, you become a professor of that thing. And America might run those places. And to call yourself professor, nah.
Well, then again, we also, we have like
my English mind doesn't really work very well. And if it's not in the little area that you've focused on, then you can really open yourself up to lots of shit. It's like building yourself up to something big, and then you could just get shat on by people that you're arguing against because they know more, just because it's their hobby, rather than because you're a qualified person who decided to dabble in it.
Well, the thing about Dave
So
is he's got a huge internet following, and he
Mm.
doesn't really like to do flat Earth that much, but whenever he does, he gets huge spikes in his
yeah,
viewership. So
yeah, on UK TV, you get people who, yeah, well, you get like we've inherited from the Americans daytime TV now. We didn't used to have that when I was a kid, but we have it now. And we have like
yeah,
daytime TV, and they have like Dr. Dave, Dr. Fred, Dr.
yeah,
Jane, or
Dr. Phil. Well, Dr. Phil is a real doctor.
no, no, that's not that's not really how the titles go normally.
Mm.
And so I think Professor Dave might be just sort of cashing in on the fact that he's got some sort
But
of title, and
it's a nice name, though. I mean, it's a good internet
it's a
name.
great name, yeah,
So
yeah. But nonetheless, you know, it is like setting yourself up for a fall to
he ripped.
overqualify you. You know,
He did do a pretty good number on Dearth, even though Rumpus didn't particularly like it.
Yeah, I did think that. Some people in the chat are claiming not understand the point he was making. He was definitely making the point that the angle of the sun in winter can be the same as the angle of the sun in summer at different times, and that was the point he was making. He may have made some other points as well, but that was the point that Professor
Yeah, I
Dave
guess
didn't understand.
but it's generally lower in the horizon. I mean, even at noon, it's
Yes,
not.
but the point that Death was making was that there are times in the winter where the sun is obviously, I don't know, 20 degrees up, and obviously at certain times of the day during the summer, the sun is at a similar angle, and that's the reason we say that it's warmer in the summer than the winter, due to the angle of the sun. Now, at the same time, so he was claiming that in the morning of a summer, the sun feels warm for the same angle. In the winter, for the same angle, the sun feels colder, which is wrong. They would feel the same.
Yeah, but the air is colder in the winter time.
Yeah, the air is colder, yes, but the sun is the amount of energy from the sun would be the same, and that was the bit that Professor Dave didn't understand.
Have you ever been up in, I don't know, Alaska, North Dakota, Alberta, way up in Norway or something? There are sunny days in the wintertime. I mean, there are some days that it's like sunny as hell and 40 below zero. So
yes, and the air temperature is the air temperature can be different. And that's the bit that Blue was saying about the thermal mass. Obviously, if it's been, if the energy, you've got a lot of energy during the day, then the ground is just going to be warmer as a result of being subject to the sun at a higher angle for a longer period. So just go ahead, Blue.
Yeah, that's important. Not the duration as well, because obviously not going to be the duration of the sun won't be as high during the winter.
But that wasn't what Dearth was saying. He was talking about the angle, and he said that the sun feels different in those two circumstances, but they don't. The actual energy you get from them would be the same.
I thought he was also trying to say, why is it colder at nighttime than it is in daytime too?
I think he may have made that as another point, but that wasn't the point I was referring to.
And the answer is, it does get colder at night than it does during the day, at least most of the time. Statistically, the coldest part of the whole 24 hours is the hour before dawn.
That's right.
Yeah, it amazes me how much difference cloud makes. I mean, you have these deserts, which are obviously incredibly hot, and because they don't have any cloud, I mean, my sister was recently in Marrakesh, and she was saying how there that
it gets really cold. People don't understand that. Yeah, it gets really cold.
In the desert.
Yeah, I'm really close to. I'm like 100 miles from Marrakesh myself right
really?
now, but I'm from Alaska.
Right.
So, so I see all these things in all common sense.
Well, the sun is not directly heating the atmosphere. The sun is heating the earth and all the things on the earth. That's what heats up, and that's what heats the air up.
Yeah. All the surfaces, water, the atmosphere. That's why we have one of the biggest differences between maritime climate and a continental climate is because water molecules maintain temperature longer than air molecules.
Right.
So that's why it's the temperature doesn't go up as much in Barcelona as it does in Madrid, which is on a plateau.
So there's a difference between the heat and temperature.
Extremes.
Well, you're also closer to the ocean, and the ocean is a big buffer system.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, but heat.
And you also get
That's the difference between continental and
heat affects
yeah, yeah,
I
cool
mean that's what
breezes.
makes
heat affects the temperature directly because of the capacity for heat that various media have. So yeah, you got a certain amount of heat. You put it into a pound of aluminum, and it doesn't warm it up so much as the same amount of heat that you put into a block of iron because of the heat capacity. You know, the relationship between heat and temperature is not based on anything other than the heat capacity of the thing that you heat, like that you apply the heat to.
Yeah, exactly. The specific
So
heat of the
when you've
material
got
you're talking about.
yeah,
it
exactly.
is
So
quite
you've got
interesting.
air, and it doesn't. Mhm.
It is quite interesting. The point that Blue makes there is a really important one. This idea that actually, as a child, I used to think, why doesn't the atmosphere get hotter than the ground? Why is the ground getting warm? Why do we always talk about thermals coming up from the ground? And of course, it's because the air doesn't interact with the light very much. There's not very much
No,
of it there.
no.
And if it
Exactly.
did interact very much with the light, you wouldn't be able to see through it. The mere fact you can see through the atmosphere tells you that the
Yeah.
light is not
That's
interacting very much. I think we lose about something like 30% of
yeah.
the I think the incident energy on the surface of the atmosphere and what we get down on the ground is I think it's about 30% difference. Um, so
Yeah, that's
Depends
about that.
on the
basically,
albedo, and albedo of air is like nothing. But
you disagreeing with that?
just because
The energy from you agreeing with that, Blue, the amount of energy the atmosphere uses up from the sun? You gone
Who,
quiet
me?
on me now. Yes, you made a
No.
comment about you, but I thought you were trying to disagree with me about the
Oh, no.
or agreeing with me about the
no,
energy that the
I,
atmosphere uses up from the sun.
I was listening on. But
Yeah,
the thing is that the air doesn't absorb very much heat, nor does it give much out. The
That's
ground
right.
the light
can
comes
reflect them, and there's an albedo thing.
down, beats on the earth, and then it's shifted to a longer wavelength, and that wavelength stays. Fortunately, otherwise it'd be really cold here.
Yes, that's right. There's the old sort of greenhouse type effect, which obviously is increased with more carbon dioxide. But I'm amazed how effective clouds are. It's just incredible. I mean, there's days here, for instance, in Britain, when we have a cloudless night, and when you have a cloudy day, the difference is incredible. And obviously, it's just true of deserts as well, as obviously Olem will know.
Well, that's why, particularly within the last month or so, we've had some
Yeah,
absolutely glorious days here. But of course, there's very little or no cloud cover. And then you wake up the next morning, if you wake up sort of early enough, there's been a ground frost and you've got to go and
yeah.
fill your fire out. Yeah, it was a glorious day because there was no cloud. And then because there's no cloud, all of that heat that the ground had soaked up has been lost.
Yeah,
Because
Olem,
the clouds aren't there to sort of,
bounce it back. Yeah, they actually
trap the heat
bounce
and
it
bounce
back.
it
Yeah,
back.
they
Yeah.
trap it in. I mean, Olem, do you have sort of cloudy days and then think, and then find that there's a dramatic difference in the morning temperature or the night temperature when you've got a bit of cloud cover?
But yeah, in Alaska.
No, in Marrakesh, where it's obviously hot.
Actually,
And
no,
then,
I'm going to correct myself. I'm 400 miles from Marrakesh.
okay, well,
Not 100
you're near
miles,
enough.
400 miles.
You're near enough. I mean, I'm about 200 miles from Bev, so where I live. So both
Yes.
farmers and I are about 200 miles
Yes.
from Bev. Not nearly far enough, but
No, it's
That's
funny,
not
William.
not far enough. No.
Yeah, but you do realise that we're a damn sight closer to Oakley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still 100 miles away or something, I think, or something like that. Or
No,
50, 60, 100. I don't know.
I know where he is, and these two. I could get to Oakley's in, I don't know, certainly this time of night, about half an hour.
Mm.
But yeah,
there's not much point in that, though, is there?
Unless you want to go and punch him.
I think to
well,
answer your
no,
question,
he's a sort of git who'd he'd press charges. But no, in deserts, particularly, in deserts during the day, it's blisteringly hot.
Yeah.
And then at night, it's freezing cold, literally.
Well, that's what I was asking about Alan, whether he's experienced this. Is on a normal basis you would get that change. And I was just asking Alan whether he's actually got personal experience of saying, "Oh, get a bit of cloud in," and you don't get the cold nights. I'm just wondering if that's...
we're not so on the other side from Morocco. but we get, for example, we got the Kalima a lot. The all that red sand was blown over from the Sahara, so we get results of their climate goes up to us a lot, very fast. We got hit by it really hard. Red sand everywhere.
Don't you
But
get cloudy days, Alan? Oh, Alan.
yeah,
oh.
yeah. It's been in fact it's been cloudy and raining for 3 weeks. Like some kind of
Right.
record, I think, which is good for crops in Europe. We sorely need
Yeah.
that.
Right. So is
And
it much warmer at night then, and first thing in the morning when you've got cloud?
so we're 45 minutes, and I'm outside of Seville, so it's about 45 minutes to the coast. So, and we're close to the Guadalquivir, so it's really humid. So the temperature does maintain for a while because it is so humid. It does. It's
Right. So when
not
you say you're near
super
Marrakesh, you're not
because
actually in you're not actually in Tunisia then. I mean Morocco.
right.
You're actually in Spain. Sorry. Right.
Yeah, we're not
He's got the
that close
Mediterranean
to the,
there.
we're not that close to the desert. We're close enough to the coast. It's pretty humid. But
Oh,
in
dear.
Alaska, yeah, especially in the center of Alaska, you have streams. You can have us, 70 above and 70 below
Yeah.
in the
Sorry.
same part of Alaska.
Oh, I've got to tell. Sorry to interrupt, Alan. There's been a fantastically funny comment in the chat about the threatening to put Oakley pressing charges, and he's suggested he used Riley as a solicitor. And, so that'll make me all the more confident to be able to get
Yes,
away with
please.
it. Oh, sorry, Alan. I was very rude
Who's your
there.
beat? Oh, it's this guy called Riley. Yep, yeah, we're down the court.
Oh, sorry, Alan. I was
Uh,
incredibly rude there. I couldn't contain
Oh
myself.
hell,
Oh God.
hell! If I ever,
Never won
if
a
I were,
court case yet, has he?
if I were to ever commit a major felony, I would hope the prosecutor would be Anthony Riley.
Oh
Oh
Jesus.
dear, yeah.
Did you hear the story? I heard one story also of Ranty was saying that when they had that hearing about when he was Riley was prosecuting on behalf of being a witness on behalf of whoever it was about the money that Ranty promised to give
Yes.
all the contributors. Apparently, Riley was busy playing a game or something while they were having a virtual conference with because this was all online because of the COVID. And he
Yeah.
was actually playing a game, and then he swore in this middle of this game, he effed off at the judge.
Yes.
And the judge, I mean, the guy is just, I mean, he can't even have social interactions. He can't even get right, let alone a bit of law. I mean, as we've seen from his masterpiece of
It was actually Oakley
dissertation.
swearing.
Just a quick reality check. So Riley,
Oh.
I know, apparently did an
Oh.
undergraduate degree, and then he was putting in for a master's, which he thought would be peer reviewed,
Yes.
and that doesn't happen on a master's. And now you say that he's practicing law as an advocate.
No, he's never practiced law. He got a law. He claims to got a law degree, and we just got to accept that. I think, although there's some people claim they do know where he went and what he got, but he certainly seems to have. He then had this. He seems to have then applied to this master's.
It sounded to me that it's
Oh.
just jumped another level where he's acting as a barrister. He's an advocate, right?
Well, he
No,
gives
he-
legal
What you just
advice
said.
to his pals. That's the point.
Yes,
He doesn't
he's not-
actually act professionally in this.
No, he's as far as I know, he's not acting in a
He's appearing
professional
as a friend.
capacity in law at all.
And never has done, as far as I can make out.
No,
No, it'd be quite an astounding jump.
if you want an interesting
You have to go
insight
through a
into
privilege.
if you want an interesting insight into his background, there was a chap who hasn't done much recently called BM Furball, and he interviewed several people, one of which was Riley, and Anthony does go into his background, and he he got these qualifications in law, and he went to work for a legal firm, and he just didn't like it. I think he probably had ideas that he, within a matter of years, he was going to be a QC, and everybody could, he could stand up in court and say, "Oh, my lad," blah 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 blah. And he said he was basically working for a bunch of ambulance chasers and didn't like it because when you start career, you start at the bottom.
Probably
Don't you?
car clampers, maybe.
Well, yeah. So, and so I think he jacked all that in, and then eventually he ended up running a taxi firm
Yeah.
and failed.
But you can understand why I didn't enjoy, given the quality of that dissertation. I mean, who would you employ him in an office to write anything? You wouldn't employ him to write a letter to anybody.
I'd employ him.
I haven't seen his dissertation, but
Oh.
I can't imagine it'd be too good from his conception, or from what he said about his dissertation while he was writing it, and expecting it to be peer reviewed. He doesn't know what peer review is.
No, well, several people went through it and pulled it apart, and it might even might even be the case now that he never actually submitted it. Although people gave him money to do it, he raised over $2,000 to do it.
Well, peer review is not conducted by universities. That's not who does peer review. Doesn't work like that.
No, that's an essay that you do as part of your course. It's not,
Yeah.
I mean, the odd thing is when I was chatting with him on Skype just before he made the claim to court about Ranty's when Ranty said that he would give all the super chats to the woman, whoever it was, I've forgotten the name now. And I said to him, although there's a moral case for what Ranty did, there's absolutely no way you're going to win this at all. There was no contract. There was no formal procedure here done. It was just someone speaking something in a YouTube chat. That's all that happened. And then Riley said to me, what do you know about contract law? And I said, nothing, but I know something about logic and sense. And you're going to lose this. I said, you're going to absolutely, definitely lose this. And he said, no, you obviously have no idea what you're talking about. I know stuff about law, and I'm going to win.
That was Roxanne. He was trying to white knight for Roxanne.
That's Roxanne. That was it. Thank you, sir.
I think he was trying to get in good with Roxanne.
Absolutely.
Getting something.
There's another way to state it, which I won't publicly, but he was trying to do more than just be nice with Roxanne.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely, George.
in public now.
Are
Well,
you hearing
aren't
me
they
now,
now
George?
boyfriend and girlfriend or something? I think. Aren't they now?
No,
or were at one point.
I have
no. He was trying to get there.
Yes,
trying to get there.
Blue to George.
If I'm not interrupting anything here, you'll find this amusing, Rumpus.
I'm in a giggly mood now after saying that. So yeah, you do.
No, anyway, it's been pretty warm. We're almost to plus 10 centigrade, and it's rained a lot the last couple days. So the snow isn't very rigid. There's a lot of snow, like in the field to the west of the shop here. I've got a big field where I have garden and stuff, but the snow is about 3 feet deep out there, and it doesn't support, like when it's cold, snow will support itself, but with this warm weather and having been saturated with water, it just collapses. And anyway, I was outside moving my stack of solar panels, and Con was with me. And after a minute or so, I look around, there's no Con. I'm going, well, he was here. Where the heck is he? And I look out in the field, and there's some dog tracks going out into the field, and then they just kind of end. And I look at the tracks, and he hasn't doubled back. You'd see 2 sets of tracks, because he's not going to step in the same holes.
Were there some muffled noises as well, George?
Well, I look out, and there's a little black thing out there at the end of the tracks, and I'm going, what the heck? So I start wading through this thing, and here's poor Con. He had fallen through the crust, and it's like quicksand out there, but it's snow, but it's like quicksand. And the poor guy's down, buried in this thing with his snoot to get a breath. That's what I was seeing. And he's struggling. He can't get out of that thing because it's like quicksand. So, I take and shovel, and I shovel a path for him, for he and I to both get out. But the poor guy, I'm going to have to watch this now until the snow disappears. I mean, it's pretty treacherous out there for a 4-legged creature like him.
Yeah, if you're only 3 feet high, if you fall down, you just can't get out. Yeah, they can't support your weight. Jesus.
It's kind of amusing.
Yeah, I bet Khan didn't think it was terribly funny. I
No,
imagine
he,
he's
he
rather
was
pleased to
pretty
see
happy
you.
to get out of there. Yeah.
Yes, I bet he was.
Very
Yes,
sorry for George at the time as well, I would have thought.
you're muffled again too, Left. I just can't make out what you're saying.
I said pretty scary for George at the time, I would have thought.
Oh yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah. But I presume he didn't think Khan had disappeared too far. He saw the
No,
tracks.
Khan's real good about that. He doesn't wander off, and he knows the boundaries of the property, and he doesn't violate them at all.
Well, he looks after you, doesn't he, George? He makes sure you're not. He likes to
Not
protect
so
you, doesn't
much
he?
anymore. It's not
Mm.
like he did when he was younger. Now he's just more. He wanders off on the property. He ignores me pretty much. And I told you that he lost his hearing, didn't
Oh
I?
yeah, how's that?
Well, it seems to be coming back a little bit. For those of you that don't know, is Khan has had a fungus issue in his ears, and I noticed a number of weeks ago that deep inside the ear it was pretty bad. And I started cleaning it, and I decided to take him into a vet to look at to see how deep in there it was. And they administered some antifungal drops in his ear, and he's reacted badly to that. Later that evening, I noticed he was becoming non-responsive to my voice, and by the next day, he was completely deaf from these drops. And I had a medical doctor that I know very well, a good friend of mine. He brought his ear scope in, and we looked in there, and he said I had cleaned the stuff out really quite well. It was really quite clean in his ear, and he couldn't see any damage with the eardrum. And I talked to the vet, and he said, yes, it's been known some animals have a negative reaction, neurological reaction to this. And I go, well, why didn't you warn me about this? I may not have okayed the administration of this, so we're waiting now to see what happens. But largely, he does not respond to my voice anymore. And the poor guy, I'm just really pissed
Well,
off.
let's hope it's a bit like COVID, and that you lose your sense of taste or something, of a neurological thing, and then get it back. But yeah, if it's it's pretty.
I don't know if this
Yeah.
will cheer you
Well,
up at all, but about 30 years ago, I had some sort of loss of hearing a little bit, and I went to a doctor. He said, "Oh, yeah, well, take these drops." And I put the drops in, and I became profoundly deaf. I could not hear a thing out of either ear.
Wow.
But it was purely because of the amount of wax that I had in my ears at the time. Like I said, it was disgusting. It
Yeah,
might
that's what
cheer
can
you
happen
up.
if you've got waxed ears.
But
Yeah, if you stop drops in.
it all filled up, and then I just kind of hooked it out, and it was fine. But you had an otoscope, so maybe you could see there wasn't any of that stuff left in there. But for me, it was just like I went from that's
Have you ever
not
used
pleasant, but I can live with it. And then suddenly I went just totally deaf. I was like, I wanted everyone to burst into mime in front of me.
Have you
It
ever
was
used
purely because
Have you ever used hydrogen peroxide to clean your ears?
well the drops were some sort of oil, the urea peroxide sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Well,
The
hydrogen
ones that I was given.
peroxide really attacks earwax. It attacks organics, and
Yeah. But
like blood,
as I say,
stuff like that.
those drops
It's quite a
were
sensation. If you tip your ear over and you dump hydrogen peroxide in
and you
there,
can hear it sort of
is he not hearing
sparkle in your
me?
ear.
Do you not hear
Well,
me?
so I don't know what drops you gave your dog. Were they? I mean, for me, I was given urea peroxide. So I can't remember the exact formulation, but
Is my
instead
voice
of
very?
hydrogen, there was urea.
Is my voice?
No, you're perfectly clear, George. I think Left is having some problems hearing and speak. I think his connection isn't good.
Oh, well, I am sort of sat in my garden and trying not to shut my neighbours up too much.
You're in your. Are you in Britain?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Isn't it rather okay? It's rather okay. Right, it's rather dark. Right, you're in your garden at 11 o'clock in the evening. Right, okay.
Yeah, so I'm getting my voice down a bit, so I don't offend my neighbours too much. My backyard for the Americans listening.
Well, George, I do hope that
George wasn't able to hear me earlier. Are you hearing me now, George? And I'll take that as a no.
Well, he's muted. So.
Oh, we was having the right fun and games earlier on, Rumpus. He just, yeah. It was showing Blue as being muted when he wasn't. Me and Blue were talking to each other, and George could hear me and not Blue. And
You have the problem, farmers. I don't understand it. I rebooted the computer. I've restarted Discord several times, and in the whole list, Blue's microphone has a red line through it.
And it still does.
Must be Blue.
Tell him to go up there. Tell him to go up there and right click on my name and see if he's got me.
The people that have their mics muted have a, it's just like a gray line through it, but Blue's has a red line through it.
Right.
Can you hear? Can you hear George? Can you hear Blue now?
No, he's not hearing me.
No.
Yeah, he's not hearing.
Tell,
Look,
tell him. One of you guys that can hear me, tell him to right click on my name.
Right,
and
George,
see if he's got me muted.
Blue is saying click on his name, right click on his, and see if he's got the volume turned down or something.
No.
Look at his.
No, it's at 100%. 94%.
What it sounds like. Yeah, but it could be that he has.
You haven't got mute or you haven't got mute on either, George. Then on Blue.
You could just like click on it.
I said Blue's volume is at Blue's volume for me is at 94%.
But have you got the mute button unticked?
Below the volume bar is a mute checkbox.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, the right line might mean that it's muted.
Okay, we're good.
So that's what I was asking you, George. You see, that's oh God. Right now,
I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened.
Can you hear me now,
I've
George?
never ever used that. Yeah, I hear you fine now, Blue. I've never ever used that mute on there, so I don't know what the heck happened there.
Poor Blue. First farmer kicked him, and now you're muting him.
No, I kicked myself. Farmer didn't kick me. I kicked myself.
I know. I'm joking.
We're trying to take over Blue's server, so everybody mute him.
Oh, hell, everybody else does. Why not? That's no problem. Did anybody manage to catch Witz's live stream yesterday? He was live for about an hour.
No, I think I'm subscribed to him, but I missed that.
Yeah, go back and take a look at it. I guess he's got it up. Apparently, Witz's court date for Mount Rushmore, was it, where he got arrested?
Oh, yeah.
Is coming up here in a few days. So he seems to be a bit worried about it.
Because he was going to win it, wasn't he?
I hope they give him a good fine and maybe a few days in jail would be good.
Yeah, apparently he can get 6 months, according to what he was saying.
6 months? What? Prison?
Yeah, well, no, it's county jail, I'm sure, but
local jail. Yeah.
Well, okay, jail, prison, bloody hell! What for that?
Confinement, legal confinement.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what the hell are you like in the US? I mean, okay, you act like a complete dick, but you don't put people in jail just because they are being a bit difficult.
No, it's a little different. This is a national park. And,
no, you don't put people in jail for being difficult with a bloody guy. I mean, he's being a dick, but you don't put people in jail for that. No wonder you've got the biggest bloody prison population in the civilized world. My God.
You need to spell jail.
Sorry?
You need to spell jail.
He needs to.
You also don't thumb your nose at the fucking legal system, Rumpus.
In the USA, there's a difference between jail and prison.
Which it was confronted.
In the UK, our prisons are spelled GAOL.
Yeah, there's I appreciate they're spelt differently, but I mean, I'm still, I'm still in shock.
Well. The jail is a minor prison that.
Yeah, but to be in confinement, in other words, to be in confinement, to be locked up in whether it's in a local jail or a national whatever, You don't do that in a
He's-
civilized country to people who are just being a dick. And
Well,
they've
he
even threatened
hasn't.
anybody.
Rumpus,
He was
Rumpus,
breaking.
he hasn't been. He hasn't been sentenced yet. That's the maximum that could possibly.
That's
be
what he could
imposed.
get. Yeah.
Right, okay, well,
Yeah, don't go off the
megaphone
fucking
in
deep
a
end.
public park.
Well, honestly, but even whatever. I mean, if he's being charged, if it's a trespass charge or something like that, you don't get put into jail for doing that sort of thing. Okay, but if he did something else like
Especially in the
assault
UK.
or something else, then yes. But I mean,
But
if
yeah,
this
I
is
don't-
the maximum, this is the
a-
maximum penalty for
a
trespass
quick
or
differentiation
not.
is that in the UK,
Hey, Rumpus, hold on.
the
Hey, two left
trespass is
thumbs. Don't you
equivalent.
hear people? You're talking over everybody all the time.
Well, that's because I was going to make the point that in the UK again, there's another differentiation between jail in America and jail in England is the spelling, and that jails in England are the same things as prisons. In the States, I know they're not. And I wanted to just quickly clarify as well that trespass in the UK is a civil offence. It's not a criminal offence. So we don't get trespassed in England by any law officer.
What?
I know in the States you get trespassed for
It can.
going into a
It can.
place, and people say, "Oh, I want you to trespass them" as the verb. It's not a verb in England. Yeah,
It can
it's
be
just
both.
not the same offence.
But two left thumbs still. If you want to make a point, there is a decorum. You don't talk over people. You let people finish their sentences.
Did you not just speak over me?
All right, guys, settle down.
Can we just focus on the fact that
Uh,
okay, I mean, whatever is he
but
supposedly transgressed? I mean,
Well, let me chew Rumpus's ass out for a second. It is possible that he could get 6 months. Let me guarantee you one thing: walk in a courtroom in the United States, hold up your middle finger at the judge, and that's effectively what Whitsitt does to everybody, and see what happens. You are going to go to jail. You're going to spend some time in jail. You don't piss off the judge.
Yes, but that's not
No.
what's happened here. He hasn't done that yet, has he?
No, but it's
It hasn't
possible
annoyed the
that
judge
he
yet.
can. Well, wait and
Yeah,
see
well,
what
obviously-
happens.
Yes, obviously, if in a courtroom you do something show contempt for the court, then obviously you're going to be. Then there's a whole new thing you've done wrong. You can suffer summary justice. That's a different issue. I'm talking if there's 6 months potentially just for him misbehaving or not quite following the orders correctly of a park warden, and then using a megaphone. I mean, that's ridiculous to be put. If there's even a possibility of going to jail for that.
I don't think it is.
no, it's not.
I do not think that's
Finger
right.
to everybody.
I agree.
It's
I
not
disagree
ridiculous.
with you.
If you, sorry, Blue, go ahead.
No, I disagree with you, Rumpus.
Yeah, I disagree too. I
If
mean,
this,
if you,
if this guy wants to go to a national park like that, disturb and interrupt a whole lot of people that were there paying their good money to go and see this same thing, the guy's there just being a total pain in the ass, won't pay attention and won't adhere to the rules that are in place, and will show no contrition whatsoever, and still maintain that what he was doing was perfectly allowed. Fuck you, go to jail.
No, I'm sorry. That's not the way to treat and behave in a civilized society. Okay, so he behaved badly.
We
I
are
mean, this
not a
country-
civilized society, goddammit. We're the
It's
United
beyond-
States of
Well,
America.
Okay,
Give me a
that's the
break.
point I'm making.
Rumpus, Whitsitt was beyond misbehaving and being unreasonable. He was defying and contemptuous of the figures of
warden.
authority there that were trying
Yes.
to.
Yes, that doesn't merit going to jail. You get
Yes,
a
it-
fine, you can get told off, and then if you
Well,
that does
that's-
not
again,
merit
that's
going to
maximum
jail.
sentence. Again, that's maximum sentence. We
I know, but there
don't
shouldn't
know
even be a
if he's gonna
consideration
go
of
to jail.
I mean, perhaps if he started, perhaps what he's being charged with includes potentially defiling the area or something like that, or something along those lines. But I mean, he didn't threaten anybody. He didn't cause any harm to anybody. He didn't cause any physical damage to anything.
Excuse me,
Okay, so
could
he
I
may have
interrupt?
spelled some people's ears, but you just don't.
If
You
I
don't in a
interrupt
civilized
now, will
society
I
put
get
people in
echoed?
jail for just being a bit shouty.
Well, I don't know. It depends. I don't know who the guy who tried to teach me manners was, but he would obviously put me in jail. But if you're in a court, if you're in a court and you defy the court, then you do. Even in England, God bless them.
Yeah, but he hasn't been in the court yet. He hasn't defied any court as yet. And we got Sean
Okay,
Hawkins being a twat in the chat. If you resist arrest, that's something else. And it's not even. I don't think he did resist arrest. And even if he did resist arrest, even that is doubtful whether you. I mean,
Right.
I.
Right. I
Yeah.
honestly the third. I thought that the guy was held in, I don't know who this guy is, but it sounded it was held in the court in contempt. And if you hold the court in contempt, no matter
But he
where you
hasn't done
are,
that. He hasn't been to court yet.
fine. Well, that's what
Right,
it
so this is
sounded like.
completely irrelevant. We're talking about the charge
That's
he's
what I
on having
heard.
6 months. We're not talking about what can happen in court when you do
Oh, you
something
may not
else.
be, but
Hold on.
I
Well, then
think
you could do
that
something else and then be held in
Blue
contempt of
Blue
court.
seems
That's
to be
another thing
mentioning
he's done. He
something
would have
in
to do
contempt.
wrong.
I understand the difference between that.
Right, so we're just talking about the chart, what you can be punished for doing what he did, not what he might do as well in court, which is another thing that he would do and then be charged separately. Then there's a different issue. Then you have to
Right.
argue what is appropriate for when you contempt of court. That's a completely different issue to the one we're talking about.
Is he going to represent himself?
That's what I was thinking about, whether to get some advice from Riley. That was
I think that you're just on a high horse, personally. But
you keep on bringing up what would happen in court. You don't seem to understand. I think my complaint is
I said you sound like you're on a high horse. It may not be a.
Yeah, but you're not listening to what I'm saying, which is the discussion. The thing I'm complaining about is the potential penalty for what he did do, not what he might do something new in court. Oh my God.
Yeah, I keep saying high horse, as in you're on there's an English kind of phrase which is high horse.
You're breaking up again. We can barely hear you.
I seem to think I'm talking about court. I'm not. Oh, that'll be what it is then.
It's impossible to make out what you're saying most half the time. The point is, I mean, you can have some aggravated situation in there. Aggravated, but he didn't resist arrest as far as, oh my God. He didn't resist arrest as far as I can make out. I mean, Sean Hawkins is twatting away being his stupid self in the chat saying, but I mean, he was awkward, but he didn't resist arrest as far as I remember.
Fine.
Yeah, but even if someone begs you to take him to jail, doesn't mean they have to do it, Sean. That's irrelevant. You can you can say you've committed a murder, but if you haven't, you don't go to jail. I mean, Sean's being even more stupid than usual. Oh. Anyway, in this country, you would not even have the possibility of, by simply being a bit shouty in a public place where you're not allowed to be shouty.
Luckily for you.
Sorry.
Hey, shout out Stringer News 1 for a $2 super chat. Says Rumpus is getting shouty. Give him 6 months.
He is getting shouty, yeah. That's why I said luckily for you.
This is the damn war room. There'll be no fighting in the war room.
That's right. Yeah. It just aggravates me that Americans seem to be complain about a violent society, but the system is brutal as well. This is why police behave brutally. The system's brutal, and that's why you have a huge bloody criminal population in prison. If you just eased off a bit with everything and treated everything a bit more in a civilized manner and not put these huge penalties, then you wouldn't be bloody having the amount of crime you've got, I think.
What population would you prefer to be in prison? A criminal or a non-criminal population?
Right, but my point is there's a percentage of the population, the Americans have more people.
Said,
why are you interrupting my answer? I'm trying to give you an answer and you're interrupting it. You asked me a question and now you won't let me answer. Can I give my answer? Then you get your turn. Can I finish the answer and then you can come back at me? You asked me a question and I'm trying to answer it and you keep on interrupting me 4 words into my answer. My answer was the population in America is, as a percent of the population in prison, is much higher than the rest of the other civilized world. Now it's your turn.
Answering my question. So back to my question: which population would you prefer to be in prison? A criminal one or a non-criminal one?
Obviously the
No,
criminal one, but the
no,
point is
shout
the
at
population. Oh,
me
you just
again.
asked me again.
Shout at me
Can I
again.
answer the question?
Shout at me again.
Can I answer the question you asked? The point is, if
Yeah,
you make
please
everything
do.
very
Could you
criminal, you
repeat the question
criminalize.
before you
Oh
answer
my
it?
God. You criminalize the population. You can make up any law you like. The point is, if you criminalize small
Just
indiscretions
rather than
in this
shouting,
way, like what is
calm down.
criminal? Obviously, you only put criminals in prison. That's such a
Calm
stupid
down.
question.
No,
Jesus Christ.
really, calm
You've got a
down.
moron in
Answer
the
the
panel.
question.
My God.
No. Oh God. Oh. Answer the question. Which
Fuck
would
off,
you
you wanker.
prefer?
All righty then. That went well.
It did.
What? Bizarre, really. But anyway, good. Why is he called? Oh, he's not called Ranty, is he? He's called Rumpus. What does Rumpus mean?
I'm ceasing to interact with you. You're a stupid twat. I refuse to interact with you.
Well, I
Why do you
think
call
two
yourself
left,
Rumpus?
So I can call
two
people
left
like you
thumbs
twats.
Two left thumbs
Who?
apparently doesn't have a speaker, so he's not hearing anyone.
I have headphones. I can hear what he's saying, but I can hear what
Then
you're
why do
saying
you
as
talk
well.
over everybody all the time? Listen once in a while and pause until someone finishes their
I do.
sentence, please.
So
No, you
when you ask someone a question,
You then allow
you
them
wait till
time to answer instead of interrupting them 4 words into their answer. Yeah, that's what you do. My God.
when
Hey,
it's obvious that they
Look, I'm not
aren't
interested in
answering the
talking to
question
you.
that you
Talk
asked.
to someone else.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not even
Well,
listening
okay,
to you. But
fine. Well, let's.
this American guy, because he pointed out that I spoke over people.
Yeah, shout out to Bill Devitt, a new Blue Marble Observer. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, someone's mentioned Hads has mentioned breach of the peace, and you can be get to that. Indeed, a breach of the peace that indeed is a criminal offence. The question is, I don't think what I saw there, a breach of the peace usually involves, being violent I mean, obviously you can. There's a range of things you can do, but obviously, so breach of the peace is indeed worthy of a potential prison sentence. But what he did, I think. Doesn't constitute something that would merit. I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, perhaps you could argue what he's being charged with potentially has this great thing because to allow for the fact he was running around and breaching the people. I mean, it just
Right. So he was arrested duly. All right. So he had to be physically taken away just to because he was disrupting the peace. All right.
He didn't resist arrest, though, did
Now,
he?
however, the problem is not resisting arrest. That's not the charge anyway.
Indeed.
Until we know, we were just speculating anyway. My point is, Rumpus, is you tend to take topics and then you really like to bash Americans in general.
I do a bit. I agree with you.
You're kind of biased on that.
I am, but so it's a grievance of mine. Yeah, I mean, you're valid. You're correct to point that out. But I'm afraid it is a valid point, though, that there's a very large, American system does seem to criminalize people unnecessarily, and hence you have a very large population in prison. And and the police behave badly. The justice system seems to behave badly, and you end up with a violent society. And this is why you've got a murder rate 30 times the rate of, say, Britain. I mean, it's just, and obviously the guns don't help. And this just seems to be another example of it. You don't need to be so heavy-handed with people.
Prisons don't help.
Absolutely, there's another huge problem. I mean, it's just incredible.
The laws are changing in the United States, though. It's becoming more progressive, I think, and they're not locking up people for non-violent acts so much anymore. Those things are changing.
Bill Devitt in the chat saying, I don't seem to understand the number of charges. That's possibly correct. I only saw what happened, so there perhaps a number of other charges as well that I'm not familiar with. But yeah, I mean, possibly I'm not aware of the complete case. But from what I saw, okay, I mean, potentially it could be a very wide-ranging breach of the peace, and he's a very small one, and therefore perhaps, for breach of the peace, you can be put in prison. But that usually involves quite a severe thing, and so possibly that whole rule of breach of the peace could encompass. That's the rule he's been charged with, and therefore it allows for all sorts of very really bad behaviour. Perhaps I'm overreacting a little bit, but it just Yeah, I mean, so yeah, okay, possibly they could have a more what it could be. He could have been arrested under quite a wide-ranging law that covers all sorts of really bad behaviour. So perhaps I'm overacting a little bit to that, but
And a
it's
lot
just
of separate
symptomatic,
things,
unfortunately.
aggravating instances attached to it for example, substances that he may or may not have
Yeah,
within that.
but then presumably it'd be another. Wouldn't be just a breach of the peace charge, then, would it? Maybe something else as well. Just just don't criminalise people unnecessarily. It's just really bad for society. Sorry, it's just one of my. It is one of my hobby horses, I'm afraid. So yeah, that's a little bit.
Hey, shout out to Truth Nerds for €2. Witsit is basically MLK, the Rumpus paraphrase.
What's MLK?
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
Oh,
Why don't you be his lawyer?
I could do a better job than Riley, but I'm not sure I'll do much better than that, though. But I mean, when I just see American policemen running around beating people up unnecessarily or being so heavy-handed, just
Oh,
seems
shut the
symptomatic of
fuck
that.
up. That is not that. God damn it! That's enough of that
I'm
shit,
sorry,
Rumpus.
it's too much of it. When in this country we just don't do that, and there's no reason
It's
to.
not the
Well,
rule.
good. You stay there. We do it our way. You do it your fucking way. I
Yeah,
don't
but
care.
joining civilized society, joining
don't-
civilized world.
Fix your own
Hey,
shit.
Louis.
Don't worry about my
Well,
shit. I'll fix
because
my
everyone-
shit.
especially
Well,
you,
unfortunately,
Blue.
you're armed with big nukes and you have a big
Hmm.
influence over the free world, and you should be setting an example.
We are. You fuck with us, we throw your ass in jail.
Yeah, that's not the example I'm talking about. That's not a good example
on,
to be
boys.
setting.
Ah, my father. Yeah. My father was a policeman in the 1950s. Oh, have I been muted by everyone? My dad was a policeman in the 1950s, 1960s, and he like
Well, while he's breaking up, I mentioned Rodent Ruth knows the last name, but said any person who defames or insults the king, queen, or their ancestors and their descendants can be imprisoned for up to 2 years. So, I suppose technically that can happen. I think you can also be,
about 5 minutes ago.
in theory, be executed in this country. But yeah, I don't think anybody. I don't think in practice. I don't think that would happen though. Rodent. So, but yeah, it's a valid point. But there's a difference between what
The
the law is.
tyranny's only on paper.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Oh, I don't think anything more than a fine's going to happen to Witsit either,
Yeah.
unless he really shows his ass in court.
Oh, I must admit, it's rather odd though. Actually, someone like the bloody, I forgot this stupid name now. Steve McRae and his bloody business with that guy stole 40,000, and the length of time it took the court to swing into action on that one seems a bit incredible.
You know what? It's probably going to end up with community service.
We
Good
didn't have
chance.
slavery in this country. Sean's making some stupid comments in the chat. We didn't have slavery in this country, and we abolished it in the 1800s, early 1800s. We tried to ban it actually in the 1700s. We've never had slaves in this country at all. So there you go, Sean. Well done. Not something we've ever had to worry about in this country. It's only with some immigration issues and people have come in who from other countries who've tried to enslave other people that we've had to worry about bringing in slavery laws. But prior to that, that's why we've had a fundamental principle in this country, and we've never had slavery here. It's never been allowed ever since ever. Well, I think the Normans, when they came over and they beat us at the Battle of Hastings and all that, there was a brief period where there was a sort of semi-slavery issue going on, but that didn't last very long. And it's one of the things that makes out Britain was our respect for the individual, and things like the Magna Carta, where things like that just weren't allowed.
Right, but the
Shout out
Magna
to
Carta
John.
is, like you said, just a piece of paper. And feudalism, the feudal system in England for centuries, feudalism is a form of slavery.
Well, actually, we were the first country to banish feudalism in the in the developed world. Well,
Did you say,
whatever. We were the first country in the world to get rid of
did you
feudalism.
say a banished?
Sorry.
You said the
Feudalism
banished.
ceased to exist in this country in about 1250 or so, far earlier than in other countries in Europe and around the
Abolished or
world.
banished?
Citation.
Oh, I could go get it to you, but we were the first to remove feudalism in this. That's what made us a leading. That's why we invented human rights in this country for the whole world in modern times, anyway. Although there's some ancient things.
Also, England invented eugenics. So.
Oh yeah, well that's another. Yeah, well let's stick to the issue at hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just quickly, shout out John Rapp for $2 Australian. Please toss Rumpus's tea into the river.
Who's picking on my tea?
Rumpus, we most definitely had slavery here in the British Isles. It's like long before the Normans were here. It's like it was practiced quite a lot by many of the cultures.
Okay, well, I mean, if you're talking the Dark Ages, then we sort of lose a bit of track about what the hell happened then. But
Not really. It's not as dark as you think it is.
Okay, so you're referring to the sort of pre-10th century, then, are you, Adewolf? And that's a good name, by the way. You've got a name to go with your what you're commenting on.
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of like enjoy that part of English history.
Right. Yeah. I mean, okay. I must admit, I am talking sort of post sort of Norman period. But prior to that,
okay,
and as you say, there is more knowledge, and I'm not really referring to what happened before that. So yeah, not obviously we had slavery, but the Romans came in here and had this slaves. So yeah, but
Yeah,
the first country to abolish feudalism was France. So it only took me a few seconds to look that
don't
up.
believe that. The French had
Rumpus.
feudalism far longer. That's ridiculous. Don't believe that.
Seems Rumpus, you like
The
to
abolishment of
practice.
slavery was much later in England.
Seems Rumpus that you like to practice selective history.
Well, I'm afraid I don't accept that feudalism was abolished in France before us. I'm sorry,
Kind of like the Prussians. You like to sanitize.
Yeah, and the Prussians abolished serfdom in 1807.
Yeah, but we didn't have serfdom we didn't have serfdom in 1250. They're hundreds and hundreds of years behind us.
You most certainly had feudalism in 1250.
No, we didn't. This is let me go.
You did.
I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm going to go. I'm reasonably sure on my facts here.
Isn't feudalism, when you have lords of the estate and everybody works for the lord?
Okay, that was 16. Okay, there's officially was removed in. Yes, it was remained in decline until it was officially abolished in 1660. But it actually, I mean, the peasants' revolt effectively, in practice, removed feudalism in 1380. Was the peasants' revolt, and that's when I think effectively there was the practical end of feudalism. Although it was legally it was abolished in 1660. I don't believe the French did it before then, so I don't know where you're getting your fact. I'm going to go and check. Where did you get that? Where did you get your information? When are you claiming they've abolished feudalism in France?
Wikipedia.
Alan? When?
I don't know.
1789. It's bloody much later. What are you talking about? Honestly, normally you're pretty accurate. What have you been reading? But you're completely wrong.
I just read the headline.
Well, I'm sorry. It was 1790 in France, and it was legally abolished in 1660 in Britain. And the Peasants' Revolt in 1381 was the practical end of any sort of feudalism in this country.
Yeah,
and
so it was Henry II, in fact, who set out to limit the powers of the barons. So yeah, that was the latter
You
half.
don't hear me at all. Am I blocked by everyone now?
No, you're just cutting in and out to left. You can barely hear you,
Okay.
and when you are, you're muffled.
Well, I'm going to go inside and speak a bit louder. Slavery is a very strange thing, and it was never a thing in a technical way in UK law. And it got abolished.
Someone else was talking about the
Well,
slave trade, and that we were the first
yeah.
country in the world to abolish it. I think in 1805 or 1810 or something.
Well,
And we
the
tried to
thing is
do
that
that prior to that, but got stopped by Napoleon bloody causing a rumpus in the bloody continent. But we actually tried to pass a law in about 1790 or something, and then
rumpus.
got interfered with
Well,
by
the thing is
that
that
war, and then we finally
it
abolished
wasn't.
it in about 1810.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't on the
That was, and that
spectrum
was
of
they abolished. I mean, that's a slave trade. We
normal
didn't have
English.
slaves in this country. That was the slave trade. So yeah, we did participate in slavery, moving slaves out, but we didn't actually have
No,
any in this country.
it wasn't on the spectrum of normal English behaviour or British behaviour, and there were famous cases in like the 18th century, I think, where the air of England was so pure that no slave could exist within it. I'm just going from memory, but you know, it's a thing that it really was abhorrent to the court and the people that it didn't occur. But it did go. It was it was based on Magna Carta legally. It was going back to like much earlier centuries. The adjudication that happened in the 18th century.
One of the things that seemed to have killed feudalism in England was the Black Death.
Yeah, and then that was
Yeah, I
followed by the
mean,
Peasants' Revolt. Yeah, indeed, indeed,
I
that did
don't know why
cause a
feudalism.
labour
I don't know why
shortage, and then
feudalism came to it.
and that caused a labour shortage, which indeed, but nonetheless, we didn't actually suffer the Black Death as so badly as say France or bits of Germany, I think. So
Oh.
whatever the reason, anyway, the point was we ended feudalism earlier than any other country in the world as it was, or certainly in Europe.
From slavery to feudalism.
Just quickly,
I don't know why you stopped those two phrases, well, those two words, rather, because they're very different things. Feudalism is not slavery.
No one said it was. Well, someone said it was. I didn't say it was. But
Well, you and your mate, but Alan was something came up with feudalism suddenly after talking about slavery, and both of you sidetracked each other.
Well, someone suggested that feudalism was a form of slavery, and I was just pointing out that we didn't have slaves. So in response to my argument, in response to my point about the feudalism ending, someone else said there was slavery, and I was just pointing out that both feudalism and slavery were removed.
Like you were like not arguing the same thing, and I just
need just a second. Yes.
Wrong.
I don't know why you got so cross.
Shout out to Stringer News 1 for a $5 super chat. Said, can the Rumpus bang on for a bit about how the U.S. still uses the system of weights and measures that the U.K. gave us?
Yeah, we should. It's a bit weird that you've got our system. I mean, we obviously had it was the prevalent system around the world because obviously we had the biggest empire and all that. But then we decided, this is a bit of a bollock system, isn't it? Really, the French one invented. In fact, actually, I think at one point the Americans did actually adopt the French system because they disliked they wanted to show difference from the British system. But then eventually they decided, no, we'll stick with what we know. We tried to suggest, I think it was in 1850 or something, we tried to suggest the universal global adoption of the metric system, and the Americans didn't like the idea for whatever reason, because I think they thought regarded that was somehow more pro-British than having the anyway. Sticking to their own system is a bit odd now that you're the only country in the world, except bar one. I think there's one other country in the world that uses our system, but we decided it was a bit bollocks. Obviously.
I'm going to interrupt again, but I'd imagine that you didn't go to the CGS and K. Oh, yeah, CGS, the transmitter gram system, and all the other ones that came before SI that we adopted probably when you started in education. Did you ever do Imperial at school, Rumpus?
Yes, I was a primary school. I actually did. I think I was the last year to have any touching, any involvement with the imperial system. And there's someone in chat saying,
Were you
"Remember
ever
the
there?
Indian Mutiny Rumpus?" Yes, that was 1857, I think. Yeah, well, that was. Yeah,
No.
that's.
Well, yeah,
That,
you were at
we didn't
school
have.
when you
We didn't allow
when you had the
slavery
transition.
in India, though.
Yeah.
Ernie, I don't think.
And that whole
You
caste
you
system.
did
Here's
a big sidetrack on units there. Did you do imperial units at all at school?
I said I answered your question. Do you not hear me? I answered your question. I
I
said
thought I didn't
I
hear
was
you
the
then,
Oh,
obviously.
Jesus Christ! I said
You were
yes.
the last.
I was the Oh my God! I was the last year of my primary school to have anything to do with imperial units.
Yeah.
Okay, and I said that
And
before. Was
then
that not your answer?
you went on to say, what did you want to say?
Oh my God! We can't hear what you're saying. It's no point talking to you. Oh.
So yeah, I got it backwards. France was one of the last countries to abolish serfdom. In fact, it did require the French Revolution.
Yes.
And then the only country that really kept it was Russia.
Exactly correct now. Right, we're in agreement. Good. Yeah, and
We lost,
someone's.
have we lost a few minutes of conversation? I'm not. Can you hear me at all? Anyone?
You're muffled. It's very difficult to understand a word you're saying.
Okay.
It's
So-
like your microphone's under a blanket.
Is it still so bad?
And you
Has it got
break up as
better?
well. You break up and you're muffled. It's very difficult to interact with you.
Yeah.
And someone else was saying, I
Well,
think
you
it's
did-
1833 was the time we actually abolished the slave trade fully. But yeah, we tried to do it in 1790 something prior to that. But the bloody
I thought we'd moved
Napoleon
on-
interfered with things.
I thought it was like we'd moved on to CGS.
Yeah, I was just answering someone in the chat. That was all.
MKS,
Oh,
SR unit.
we had. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's what I was talking to you about, and then you suddenly went back to the slave trade.
Well, it's so difficult to talk to you because I can barely hear a word you're saying.
All I can generally hear from you is that you're calling on your god.
Calling on my God, what?
Sorry, now my girlfriend's saying, "Oh my god."
I don't know what
You
you're
keep
talking
saying,
about.
"Oh my god," all the time.
Yes, because you keep on interrupting me. 4 words in, you ask me a question, then 4 words in later, you then say da 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 or something, and I then say, "Oh my God, is that guy such an idiot? He can't even interact bloody properly." That's what I'm saying. Oh my God, about.
I am, obviously.
Jesus Christ, worse than a bloody
It
fatty.
might just be that you're intolerant.
Yeah, I'm
Like-
intolerant of idiots. Yeah, that's right, correct.
Some of this can be
Two
just
left
internet,
thumbs.
internet delay, Discord
It's
delay.
probably internet delay.
Save me, Blue. Talk about something else. Talk to Blue to left
Well, keep it-
instead of me.
No, try to keep that in mind. Both of you guys pull the trigger real quick, and sometimes that just doesn't work in Discord.
Yeah,
There's
that's what I
enough
meant to.
delay in there.
I'm looking about because I've had enough rumpus for this evening. I have looked in the dictionary to see what rumpus means.
Well
Stands
done.
up to its word.
Good.
Like,
Why don't you go and listen to yourself, Two Left Thumbs, on the YouTube. Review it, and you'll see why it is so annoying to try to talk to you. You're muffled. You're rude.
fuck you, cunt. Oh, sorry, Les.
Yeah, your
But
mic
yeah, I
is
didn't
quite
accept that.
quite muffled.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
your
being rude. Sorry.
yeah, your
But
mic
I
is
must- I
is
possibly
very,
think it-
but
sorry,
it's
Blue.
been that way every time I've talked with you, Lefty. For some reason, it's just really muddy sounding, very muffled. Are you on your telephone or what are you using?
He's flashing, but he's not saying anything. He's got a terrible connection or something. I don't know what it is.
Probably talking a potato in his mouth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
that,
prepared to accept I might have gone a bit over the top on the thing. If it was a breach of the peace charge, then yeah, that would have to cover what I write. So I did get possibly a bit over the top, but it's just an issue that I've got a particular thing about, I suppose. Sorry about that.
I see you lighting up, Lefty, but we're not hearing you.
Just came in to tell the Rumpus something. Rumpus. Good night, everybody.
That's the most intelligent thing you've ever said, Jose.
Hello, Jose.
Anyway, we had an interesting discussion about feudalism and slavery. Yeah, Peasants' Revolt. Yeah, basically, yeah, Black Death followed by Peasants' Revolt ended feudalism in this country, which is the first place it left, and that's why we never had slaves either, really, although except under the Normans. And that's why.
Yeah, it's amazing. There actually is life after flat water.
I'm not with you, Blue.
We found something else to talk about other than
Oh right,
flat
I see.
water.
Oh right, okay, right.
We can't call
Yeah,
those guys flat earthers. They get all upset when you do that. So, but they do think water's flat, so they must be flat waterers.
Yes, I mean this is the point. Actually, Blue, one day we should have a proper Discord hangout about things like curves. I might do a video about this anyway, but the fact they have such a problem, they claim to understand geometry, yet they don't understand that you can have an angle to a curve. I mean, it's just extraordinary for people who want to talk about geometry, not understanding something that's just slightly above complete idiocy, but actually something practical you want to do. Oh no, can't do that. I mean, it's just amazing how stupid you can be. And ignorant on a subject of which you claim to be some sort of expert.
They certainly seem to take it as a challenge.
Yeah, you don't even need to look at the horizon. You don't need to bring the curve into it at all. The curve just comes in. If you've ever set up an equatorial mount anywhere on the planet, you can see curve.
Yep.
What? Yeah, I mean, the fact that they also think that the horizontal's got something to do with the horizon. I mean, you hear Bev talking about the horizontal being somehow related to the horizon when it is not. I mean, it's just he's got some of these people are prepared to listen to him. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, so we just use a thing in astronomy called the astronomical horizon, which is just 90 degrees from zenith.
Exactly, that's the definition of horizontal, and that's what surveyors do. But apparently, that's not something that Bev recognises in his team.
Well, that's the only thing you're trying to get to with celestial navigation. You simply want something perpendicular to your zenith.
Yeah, ultimately, you're just interested in the zenith angle. That's it. Purely
That's right. Exactly right. Exactly right. The altitude angle is of little or no use to you other than maybe finding your latitude if you're looking at Polaris.
Yeah. But
or understanding your distance from a GP. Okay, I got you there, but sorta, not really.
Well, the distance to GP
you still need the zenith angle.
Yeah, exactly, to do the colatitude thing, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, right.
We've been measuring zenith angles for a couple of thousand years, well before the invention of the sextant. We've got it pretty much nailed down.
Where does the word horizon come from? From horizontal. Now, if you can, with the word horizon in another languages, does it come from the word horizontal in that same language?
Yeah, the etymology of the word horizontal is indeed from horizon. That doesn't mean to say that in practice that it has any relation to it. Who's... Oh. Two left, you've got an open mic and someone's chatting away in the background.
It's important to note that horizontal comes from and not the other way around.
Relate the two, but the point is they're not in practice. So, and the fact that Bev doesn't understand this, and the fact that, I mean, he does understand, I think. Well, I'm not even sure he does actually understand the horizontal is defined as 90 degrees to the vertical, to the zenith. But he didn't even understand that an auto level has effectively got a plumb bob in it. He didn't understand that concept. I mean, This is a guy who goes on and on and on and on and on and on about auto levels, and he doesn't even understand how they actually work in turn. He claimed also that a theodolite can't give you a horizontal. I mean, George had to spend, I don't know, half an hour explaining the procedure of how a theodolite can give you a horizontal. And this idiot moron Bev didn't understand this. He didn't think that a theodolite could give you a horizontal. I mean, the guy is an utter moron and completely ignorant of the thing on which he speaks at length. It's just incredible. Absolutely amazing.
If the Earth was curved, the world would be curvaison.
No, it wouldn't, because the horizon looks vaguely looks like in a vaguely straight line. And people like, for instance, Euclid doesn't talk about the horizontal except in terms of drawing on a piece of paper. So there's nothing in geometry that talks about horizontal. That's purely a thing that's defined by the direction of down.
If the planet was round, the world would be rounded instead of planet.
No, it
planet
wouldn't,
is,
because it
planet
looks
is from
like
the
a
world
line.
plane.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
Planet
No,
it comes from the world plane.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
If
No, it wouldn't.
the Earth was round,
No,
it
it
would be
wouldn't.
called either
It's because
rounded
no, it
or
wouldn't.
curved.
No, it wouldn't. It's because it looks like a line.
Damn, Rumpus, can you let me finish my statement?
Well,
you
you're
really
making a
have to
stupid
stop
statement.
because I'm making a stupid statement, because I'm making
Okay, you're making a statement.
because I'm mocking myself, because I'm just making saying silly stuff. You really have to interrupt me every single word, right? Damn, come on, chill out, bro.
I thought you were being semi-serious.
Oh, I'm being completely serious that you just cannot contain yourself when somebody either saying something stupid or you just disagree with them. I'm being serious of that, of your behavior.
No, you know full well I went what I was referring to, you idiot. Stop trying to
I am an idiot and I accept that. And you have to allow people to finish what they have to say. Every once in a while, at least, Rumpus, every once in a while.
I do
and
once
that's
in a
okay.
while. Yeah, well, I've been agitated. I'm in an agitated state after having to deal with two left for a bit, I think.
Well, the word agitate comes from agile. So you have to be agile to be agitated. I don't know, you're still agile enough to be agitated.
Yeah, well, Bev gets me annoyed as well. I think, I mean, just have to, the humanity having to put up with people like Bev not understanding what horizontal is defined as is just infuriating beyond measure.
We put up with far less cognitively advanced people in society all the time, mate.
Yeah, I know. But they're not
That is a
lecturing to
fact.
others. They're not claiming to. Go ahead, Bloom.
No, I was just saying that's a fact. We do.
Yeah, worked several years working with learning disability adults, and yeah, that was fun. Gives you kind of perspective on really how poor we can actually function as a species.
Yeah, but the thing is, the difference with Bev and someone who's disabled is that Bev is willfully stupid. He's a charlatan, and unfortunately, he's a compulsive deceiver as well. I don't think anybody you were dealing with was probably in that category. That's what makes Bev just being stupid, and these people being stupid is not something that's, well, it's moderately annoying, but the willful deception, the other antics they get up to are the things that are particularly annoying. And Bev will willfully misunderstand things. He'll willfully sabotage people's explanations. He will willfully misrepresent people. So there's a lot of other things that these Bev, for instance, and his team do that your people are not doing. Go ahead.
And it's also important to remember that even if they are being honest, this is why the Dunning-Kruger scale comes in very useful. So it's okay to be ignorant of something, but if you're on the top left of the scale of being super confident, despite your lack of experience, that's the problem.
Yeah. Combined with all the other defects he's got. Yeah, he's supremely confident about all these other things, as well as being a deceiver, a charlatan, and quite often a liar as well. It's a horrible, revolting combination.
Yeah,
I heard what I say. I heard what Rumpus say. I heard what OLM say. I agree. Thank you.
Well, if you haven't seen the movie 50 First Dates, I strongly suggest that you watch that and pay attention to 10-Second Tom. Right? He's the guy with a brain injury and his memory lasts exactly 10 seconds. So he does a full reset every 10 seconds. That's what it's like talking to those guys. I don't care how many times you define what horizontal means, what level means, what a slope is, what drop is. 10 seconds after you finish, they have forgotten every word you said.
Well, of course, you're. I mean, normally, Blue, you say they willfully do this. I think they tend to be stupid, and they sort of do that a bit. But I think you normally think that they actually do understand what you're saying, and then willfully
It
deceive
doesn't
people.
matter. It doesn't matter whether they are or not. The result is the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
I've actually dealt with someone that it was a skiing crash, and he smashed his frontal lobe up, and he had progressive amnesia. He would literally we went back to the ski lodge. He's like, "Oh, that girl over there is nice." Oh, I was like, "Yeah, you just met her, like 10 minutes ago. Want to meet her again?" Yeah, and that was a great fun.
I got a poll for the people. Rumpus, I got a poll for you. Is it better to be scientific illiterate, or is it better to be sense of humor illiterate? I'll take scientific illiterate any day of the week. That means sense of humor illiterate. Shout out to John Hawkins. He is sense of humor illiterate. Boom.
Yeah, there was a program on the BBC. It got about 20 years ago about a music writer, and he had some problem, and he was married and everything, and then he lost his memory as a result of some sort of infection, and then every single day he would then forget what had happened to him the previous day, and then he had to write down in a diary what had happened to him that day, and then the next day he would come along and say, I don't know who wrote this, and then he didn't recognize his wife and things. Oh, it's just awful. So yeah, I mean, you get the impression that Bev is there's something Bev is like. I mean, this is what George and I have come to the conclusion there's some element of that in Bev, unfortunately. So it's that he either willfully pretends to be like that. There are things that for instance, he was going over in that video that the Blue went over about the who was it that Sly's experiment, and Bev was then saying he was amazed at Sly's picture showing the non-parallel nature of his 16 poles, and Bev was saying, "Oh my God, look at that! Look at that! He's got non-parallel verticals. They're not. How can they be that angle?" As though he's never been told this. I mean, about 50 times by me alone, by George another 20 times, by Sly in numerous videos, and he feigns as though it's the first time he's ever done. Now, I don't know whether this is a debating ploy or he really doesn't remember what's happened. And sometimes there's some really small things that he forgets that I think indicate some sort of memory issue as well. And George and I have come to a similar conclusion. Either that or he's living a lie all the time and misrepresenting what happened to him. I mean, it's just really weird. And he'll no doubt do it again, and he'll now make another video tomorrow about the fact that the globers are showing radial lines being vertical and how they're not parallel and how amazing this is. And he's never seen this before. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Selective forgetting. It
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of Gary Waibenga. It's like he comes back the next day or the next week. It's like, oh, we debunked you last week, and he's like, oh yeah, and then he'll come back with another.
Well, I can understand if they didn't really feel they're being debunked, but something simple like, I asked Bev about 30 times, did he understand that the direction of down for globers, was towards the centre of the Earth? I asked him this 30 times, and he refused to answer, but 2 days later he claimed that he did answer, but he didn't. But so he does know, apparently, that down on a spherical object for the Earth, if the globe is anyway, he doesn't have to accept it, but he has to understand what we think, and that is that down is towards the centre of the Earth. And yet he will then come back and do something like, just say yesterday or the day before, and be astounded that people have got vertical lines that are not parallel, that are at angles. I mean, it's so either he's I just don't understand whether he's really, really stupid or he's just a liar, a deceiver. It's very strange. It's really very strange. And possibly the only way to get round this is Blue is if you have a proper session on this. Is we're going to explain to you what the angle of down is and why verticals are not parallel, and this is what they look like on the Earth model that we believe in. You don't have to accept it, but this is what we believe. So he then can't be shocked when he meets someone for the 50th or 100th person he meets, showing him that verticals are not parallel and they are angled, and what elevation means. I mean, it's just. I don't know. Even then, I suspect if we do that, I suspect he'll not remember.
if he knows it on the model where down is, yeah, maybe I made a song called "Where Is Down."
Oh yeah.
Maybe if we make it really rhymey, he can remember. Maybe make it a really catchy jingle.
Who was
Down
that
is the
for? Was
opposite.
that for Bev or just generally?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like down is the opposite of up, which is the opposite of down, which is the opposite of up.
I could yeah, Citizen Eye's asking me to draw something. I could do that. I've got a diagram. It would be rude of me not to present a diagram. I don't know if Blue wants to. I'll share my little diagram that I'm on this video. I'll keep being mean to do for the last 2 months on. Do you want me to draw a diagram, Blue? Is that something you?
I'll try to share it. We'll see if we can do it.
Okay. Let's give it a go. This little diagram here, and this is the one that it's a slightly modified one of one I've it's something you've drawn as well. We've all drawn something similar, or Deb's talked about something similar. But right, so here we go. So here's my. This is not the right one at the moment. This is my. Just.
And every time he says the word drop.
Oh God! Yes.
Whether he's using it as a verb or a noun, or it's still referring to down.
Does anybody have a shield pill? I want to just give some to Sean Hawkins. He's just losing his shit out there in the blue server. Thank you. Shield pill, please.
Right. So, are we working?
Yeah.
Are we
yeah.
sharing?
Yeah, should be.
Great. So, this is a diagram I've occasionally shown. I must have shown this diagram to Bev about 15 or 20 times, and he even replayed it about a week or so ago. And other people I've seen other people present very similar diagrams to him. George has done it. Blue's done it. We've all done it. And this is a diagram he apparently claims not to understand. I mean, he doesn't understand. So here we go. So I've got the Earth, and I'm drawing at any particular point on here. I'm drawing a series. I've only selected, I don't know what, 20 verticals or something. And of course, we know that horizontal is defined as being perpendicular to a vertical. And of course, for every point on the surface of the Earth, there's a different horizontal. These horizontals are not parallel because they're perpendicular to the vertical, and the verticals are a series of radials. And so for every point on the surface of the Earth, there is a different horizontal. So horizontals at different points are not parallel, and the verticals are not parallel. But then he will say, while I go past this, he will then say, I haven't fully finished this thing. He will then say, but what happens then if I've got a horizontal and then I draw these perpendiculars to the horizontal plane? Look at all these perpendiculars here. Are they not horizontal? Sorry, a vertical, as they're perpendicular to the horizontal plane that I've drawn. But the point you have to understand is, of course, this horizontal, we talk about it being a horizontal plane, but it's only actually horizontal at the point of contact with the surface here, where it intersects with the vertical from which it's derived. So these perpendiculars to that horizontal plane are not vertical, as I demonstrate down here. There, but I've put in some plumb bobs as well. I don't know. Did you notice the plumb bobs there? Yes, I put in a plumb bob there to help with this diagram here. There's a nice plumb bob there pointing to the center of the Earth. That's the. I had one. I went on there about 3 weeks ago and I showed them this diagram. They said, "Oh, look, you've got your plumb bob round the wrong way." This is the level of non-understanding they've got. They genuinely, about 3 of them said, "Your plumb bob's not pointing in the right direction." Jesus Christ, what are we dealing with, people? Anyway, so and there's about water levels here as well I've got going. But this going on following this point here. So if you imagine this horizontal plane that we've got, so we've got this perpendicular A, which goes to the center of the Earth, the radial, and then so up and down. Up is away from the center, of the Earth. Down is towards it. So this is our radial, and that's defined as vertical. And at this point here, on the surface of the Earth, where we decide to draw a perpendicular to this vertical line, that's where this horizontal plane is horizontal. It's not horizontal anywhere else. Even if you draw these other perpendiculars to that horizontal, but if you were to put a spirit level on those points and hang a plumb bob along this horizontal plane, you would see that the plumb bobs are not perpendicular to it and spirit levels are not aligned with it. So we talk about it being a horizontal plane, but it's only horizontal at the point, the reason we extend it and call it a plane is because, of course, there's something else Bev doesn't understand. The gradient of the surface at this point, which is also 90 degrees to the vertical. I've now forgot the point I was going to make there.
Can this test be done in the can a test like this be done in the real world and not on graphics?
Well, this is this is just demonstrating that basically parallel different verticals are not parallel. As you can see here, the plumb bobs are all
I can see it on a computer graphic on a graph.
Right. Well, I was about to go ahead.
In reality?
Yeah, and I was about to finish my answer. So I'm just demonstrating what the issue is, that the verticals are not parallel and horizontals are not parallel. You can do it. There are two ways that immediately spring to mind. One is the classic one that the main surveyor did, where you point two theodolites or autolevels at one another. And if they were parallel, if the verticals were parallel, then they would point at one another, but they don't. Similarly, actually, I saw a video that I hadn't seen before of Slides, in which he actually tests the verticals, and he had two people, one in Portsmouth and one in Germany, and he used the stars to provide him with an axis, and he lined in those two places. He then held a plumb bob in those two places and then visually placed them against the two stars or series of stars that he was looking at, and showed that for those two locations, vertical was different. So that's two practical ways there. You can demonstrate A, that horizontal is not parallel, and B, that verticals are not parallel. Finished.
All right, so we have spiral levels. We got plumb lines. I
didn't say this was a practical way of doing it this way. The way I suggested was using an auto level.
Thank you for allowing me to finish my question.
Okay, go ahead.
We have spiral levels. We have plumb lines. Can a test like this be done in reality, or this is just for demonstration purposes only on graphs and computer
simulations? Right, and then I went on to describe a practical way of demonstrating this is what was going on.
Not like this, not with spiral, not with levels and plumb bobs. You explained me something different.
No, shut up. I demonstrated these plumb bobs are not parallel, and I gave you a way of doing that in reality, which was the Sly-Sparkane way, which is to line them up with the stars in two very different locations, and you can see the plumb bobs do not align the same way with the stars. So that's a practical way of demonstrating that plumb bobs are not parallel.
How do you determine that when you are in two different locations? How do you know one location versus the other? How do you find that relative? One is pointing one way, one is pointing the other way.
If you listen to what I said, if you try to understand what I said, which was, and I explained it at some length, and that Sly-Sparkane has got a video in which he has two people at very distance from one another, and he aligns a plumb bob with respect to some stars he's got, stars that are visible on the two locations. The angles of the plumb bobs are different. So by doing that, he's demonstrated that the plumb bobs in those two locations are not at the same angle. They're not.
So the plumb bobs are not vertical from the star to the ground. They're not.
They are vertical, but they're aligned differently with the background stars. Therefore, they're not parallel with one another. They're both vertical, because plumb bobs are always vertical, but they're not parallel with one another.
You're doing a test on Earth, and you are aligning it with objects in the sky. So that's how you determine associating Earth with the stars, and then you're doing this test, and you are just putting them together and coming to the conclusion that because Earth and stars look certain way, therefore the Earth is round. Okay, got it.
Idiot.
Thanks.
Anyway, most person of an IQ above that of a root vegetable understood what I said. If you don't, you just have to go back and listen to it again and try and understand what I said. Or if you don't like the way I explained it, go and get Sly's video on the subject. I haven't watched it myself, but I presume he makes a good explanation for it, and perhaps you'll prefer to see it visually rather in some other way in the video rather than the way I've done it.
So is there a test, something like this, that can be done in reality, or do you have to use the stars in order to do a test like the one you got?
That is reality. Why are the stars not reality?
Let me finish my point.
Why are stars not reality?
Let me finish my point, Rampus. The test you have on screen, you got speed levels.
I described a different test.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
please.
you shut the fuck up. I talked
Uh,
about a different test, you twat.
Yes,
I
you got
talked
on
about a different
screen,
way of doing
Rumpus.
it. The
You're doing
principle
it.
I've got
You're
on
losing your
screen
shit,
is
Rumpus.
that plumb bobs are not
You
parallel.
are the
I
one
gave
who's
you
very, very
a description of a
disrespectful.
video in which
You're not
Sly
respecting
describes
your channels,
exactly that.
Rumpus.
And if you've got a problem with that, you're
Rumpus,
just a
have,
moron.
have
Just
fucking
shut up. You
respect
haven't
for
got anything
yourself, man.
intelligent to say.
Have
You haven't got.
respect
You're
for
just a
yourself and
moron.
for
You're
the
just too
individual,
stupid to
for
talk
your
to.
neighbor,
You're
brother.
worse than a bloody flat earther. Jesus Christ.
Okay, now it's
Oh
my
my
turn.
God.
So what you have on screen is spirit levels, and you got plumb bobs. I was expecting that you will bring something that demonstrates this in
I
real
did,
life,
I
but
did, I
what we
did. I
have,
referred you
what we
to
have
a
from you
Sly
instead
Starkend video which
is
uses
Rumpus.
plumb bobs that
You're
are
talking
not
over me,
parallel.
Rumpus. You're doing
I've
it
done
again.
exactly that.
You're not
I've
being an
given
adult,
you a
Rumpus. You're
practical
behaving
way
like a
of
children. You're
looking
behaving
at
like
plumb
children,
bobs
Rumpus.
not being parallel.
You
I
are
gave
being
you a link
exposed.
to
I
a
mean, you
practical
are exposed
demonstration
all over the
of that.
internet, but Rumpus, you are not leading by example. You are supposed to be an adult and allow people to speak
Yeah, and you're
their
supposed
point.
to have an alter. You
I
Jose,
have
ought to
all kinds
try
of
and learn
respect
things.
for
Why
the
don't you try
individual.
and listen
When
and try
somebody
and
needs to
learn
say something,
instead of
I will
you've
allow them to
expressed the fact that you're
say what they
quite
have to say,
happy
and then
being as
I
stupid as you
will
are.
expect the
You've
same
actually
respect
you've
for
actually
me, for
declared to the
people to
universe
allow me to
that you
say
are
my point.
happy
You see
being ignorant
how
and
adults
stupid.
speak.
You
One
have
person
declared this
speaks,
publicly,
and
and you
I
ought to
haven't
try and
been
have a
able to
little bit of
finish.
humility
Hey, let me
and
see.
try and listen to what you're
17
being
words.
told, and that
I
other
say
people are
16
giving
words, and in the
demonstrations,
17
and you're
words,
just
I
not
was
Guys,
interested in
interrupted.
learning,
Are you
are
still
you?
not stopping, Rumpus? You are
guys,
not stopping.
God,
one at a
honestly,
time,
seriously.
please.
All right, I'm gonna try to finish my point this time. Rumpus,
You've made your point.
nope, shut your pie hole, please. You are have on screen. I gotta start from the beginning because you keep interrupting me.
No,
I'm
you don't
losing
have
my
to go for
train
me.
of
I've
thought.
given
Yes, the
you
Rumpus,
my
I am
diagram is
talking
about
now. The
non-parallel plumb
the
bobs, and
Rumpus,
I
I am
gave you a
talking.
link to a
I
practical.
am
Give me the
trying to
link.
talk the Rumpus.
Yeah, I know,
Please
and you're not listening to what I've
don't
told you. There's
don't
only so many
disrespect your
times
channel this
if
way,
you
the
keep on
Rumpus.
ignoring what
All
I'm
right,
telling you,
well, I'm
Jose,
out of here.
you
Rumpus.
don't.
That's fine,
If you
all right?
keep on
Thank you.
repeating the same question, I've given you the answer. My diagram shows you non-parallel plumb bobs, and I gave you a link, or I gave you a description of a Sly video in which he does a practical demonstration of non-parallel plumb bobs. So I
He dropped.
answered your question exactly. Oh,
He dropped Rumpus.
sorry.
He dropped.
I know, but oh, Jesus Christ, he's I've got a.
Guys,
I'm having
we can't talk. We can't talk over each other that way.
I know, but
Nobody
but
enjoys it. Nobody can hear it out in the chat. Nobody can hear it out
Right.
out on YouTube.
But
we
Blue,
just don't need.
he
We don't
asked
need to be
me
doing that.
Yeah, okay, but Blue, he asked me the same thing 3 times, and I gave him what was an answer, which is he's saying, can you give me a practical demonstration of what's on my diagram? My diagram was showing you non-parallel plumb bobs. I then gave him a description of a Sly video, which is a practical demonstration of this. And the fact that after 4 attempts to repeat to the same question, I like to think I've got some sort of patience, but that's 4 times of the same question with giving the same answer. Eventually, I don't wish to go, and he said he was going to repeat it from the start. And I think we all heard, and everybody I know in this panel would have understood the answer I gave. He was the only one who had a problem understanding it. You understood it, I'm quite sure. And I think 95% of the people who are listening to this understood it. And I think someone asking the same question 4 times, there's a limit. Anyway, there's a limit. Yeah, I'm possibly. I don't know why. I seem to be in an aggravated state. I don't know, for some reason or other. I think.
Yeah.
I'll shut up. Sorry, Blue. Sorry, Blue, if I'm causing some rumpus in your hangout. I'll shut up.
We just have to be a little tolerant, you know.
Okay, sorry. I think I've had 3 people now. I've had Sean Hawkins also in the chat hassling me like crazy as well. It's just I think eventually. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Rumpus, may I suggest diazepam? I mean, that works quite well. You know, it's nice, steady, calm.
What works? Sorry, I missed what works quite well.
Diazepam.
Dry as a pan, did you say?
Diazepam.
Diazepam, right?
A sedative.
Okay, no, I don't. I don't get that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it works. So are you done? You got anything else? Or can I take this down now, Rumpus? Or
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
okay, all right.
Unless you want, I mean, it was intended for a Bev educational thing, but one day I think we will
we'll have to have a proper. I'm going to make a video about it anyway, but I think you obviously have got an issue with Bev on this issue, and I think it'd be quite nice to have a combined, proper, formal saying, well, this is what we're going to talk about, and get some diagrams prepared, and then because even what I explained just now, which I think most normal people would have accepted and understood, I've no doubt that Bev's gone away, and he won't have understood what I just said. Won't have understood the diagram. I don't know how to make it more compelling. There comes a limit. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm all up for doing a show one day.
A special.
Yeah, and just go through everything.
I mean, is there anything? I mean, Blue, from your point of view, those diagrams I'm drawing, is there any way you think we could make a clearer diagram? Is there some way? Perhaps you've got your own. I mean, your own way of drawing or something. But I'm wondering because I like to think that I'm drawing such a compelling diagram that even. So providing you're not willfully trying to misunderstand things, you don't have any alternative but to understand it. But we've seen what Bev's like, and he will if he gets an option misunderstand something. And I was wondering for some way we could just make it absolutely impossible to not misunderstand this.
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be misunderstood no matter what you do.
Do you think they do understand it and then just reject it and saying, "Oh, I understand what he said, but I'm going to pretend like do a flat Earth reset and the next day forget about it because I didn't like it." Or
that's what Jose was trying to do. He was trying to warm you up for that inevitability.
You think, Helen? No, he'd come in here to be a bit abrasive, I'm afraid. He does specialize in trying to wind me up, and asking me the same question 4 times and I give an answer 4 times is more than I'm prepared to tolerate.
I've tried making that sort of drawing a lot of different ways, Rumpus. I've tried doing the sort of thing that you just did, which is a really nice drawing. It, of course, is highly exaggerated. You can never see anywhere close to that amount of the curvature. And then I've tried to take, even just a 1 mile section of the Earth and draw that to scale so that people could see how truly little curvature we're looking for. And
one of my latest,
no matter how you do it, they're going to misunderstand it and misinterpret it. And whether they do that intentionally or they just really don't understand it, I have no idea.
A few years ago, I decided to draw. I've got this particular diagram to scale over 60. I think it's about 68 miles or something. I've got it, and it shows how very flat the Earth is, even over 68 miles to scale. When you draw that section of that length, you cannot, even if you make it as big as the screen, you can't actually visually, just unless you by the eye, you can see that in fact it's not a straight line. It's only when you zoom into it and then you say, "Oh look, there's a very tiny little bit there." If you try and drop it to scale, as you know.
Well, it's it's like the information that Jesse collected at Lake Pontchartrain. When you draw that to scale, which I did in AutoCAD, absolutely to scale, and you back off far enough that you can see both ends of the causeway, it looks like a straight line.
Yeah.
You cannot tell that there is both a chord line there and the curvature. You can't tell. Until you zoom way in toward the center of it, then you see it.
We have all tried the diagrams. We have all tried this countless number of times. And it basically boils down to the fact that they can't conceive of the size of the Earth in scale. They've always had problems with scale,
I have problems with the diagram.
Curve. They're looking for the curve over 100 feet. Come on, give me a break.
I have problems with the diagram and a test, if I may.
What is your problem with the diagram?
Have anybody done any tests with spirit levels and plumb bobs? Plumb bob, you just drop a plumb bob and it just have a vertical. You don't have to look at any stars. You can throw a plumb bob with a biggest ceiling, with the biggest roof, right? Let's say we got a warehouse of 2 or 3 miles long. We don't need to point at any stars. We're gonna have plumb bobs all the way in the top, and we're gonna put a line of spirit levels all the way in the bottom, right? How do we know if that test will be curving or will be a flat plane?
It's not going to work, Jose, because of one thing is your the string width on the plumb bob and the resolution on your spirit levels isn't enough to detect even over a couple miles the amount of difference in angle of a vertical hanging plumb bob. It'll be more than the width of your string that's hanging the weight. It has been done with theodolites. The main surveyor has done it, and I'll be doing a similar test in a similar videos.
I don't want to go too far from Rumpus diagram, because Rumpus diagram had small spirit levels and had plumb bobs. I'm explaining a certain way. It's not going to work. So why did the Rumpus present something that is not going to work? That is my question. Go ahead.
Right. The diagram was for illustration to show the effect. It was not a suggestion for an actual experiment. And if you weren't a moron, you'd realize that. And you can't do what you just suggested because you need to establish in the same frame of reference or the same device.
Why are you presenting something that is not going to work then?
It's because it's for illustration. It's not designed as an experiment.
Okay, thank you.
It's not designed as an experiment.
So you said just a pretty drawing, okay? Thanks.
Yes, that's right. It's a drawing that illustrates the principle, and that's what you don't understand.
That cannot be done in reality.
You don't understand the print. It doesn't represent reality. And
Thank you very much, Rumpus.
You're interrupting me. So what you do is you draw a diagram to represent and illustrate the principle. Then, if you want to do something in practice, you then have to design an experiment to do that. And I demonstrated 2 ways you could do the difference in horizontal and vertical. And I said you could then use this principle, one, to actually use plumb bobs using the slice bar cane thing, or the other one I said, if you want to do the effectively what the spirit levels are doing, you could use an auto level to then do that. Demonstrate that by having 2 auto levels looking at one another, you could see they were not aligned. So that would then demonstrate the principle.
Why you didn't do a diagram with something that can be done in reality to figure it out then, to get to a conclusion? Because you presented something just to represent a different test. Why you didn't put a diagram?
It wasn't representing a test.
Why didn't you do a diagram that actually?
Because it wasn't representing a test, it was representing the principle. If I then wish to go and design an experiment, and I referred you to two, and just the difference in plumb bombs, I didn't include the stars. I didn't include that because that would confuse stupid people like you, because I'm demonstrating a principle. And then if I then said, okay, here's an experiment I'm now going to do using the principle I've just shown you in the diagram, I would then say do something like Sly did, or I would then do something like the auto level thing. But I can't include that. This document that I'm doing is already many pages long. It's demonstrating lots of principles, and I can't include it in actual practical tests as well.
So the go-to that you have is Sly, that you mentioned 7 times while interrupting me, and Slice Parkane's test are one of the key factors of the test is the stars, and you did not even include it in the diagram. Shame on you, Rumpus. Shame on you.
Exactly, you twat, because it doesn't help the principle. The principle does not require the stars to be in the diagram to confuse
reality does. But reality does.
Low IQ people like you will only be confused if I start including stars. They demonstrate the principle, it illustrates what's going on, and then you have to design a test, because the problem is you then need to show the 2 different things, and the problem is comparing them in real life. So, for instance, in Sly, he had a video where he used the stars to do that for him. Say, look, here are the stars, here and there. So you don't need to include the stars in my diagram to demonstrate the principle.
Yes, you have to.
No, you don't, because it's not an experiment. It's demonstrating the effect.
And
then, if you wish to go and do it, you then go and design a test, which is not what I was showing. I'm showing the principle. And if you weren't such a fucking moron, you'd have understood that.
Something more important to do. My family's here.
Yeah, well, go off with shot off then. And God, bloody hell. The guy's a complete tosser. You see, unfortunately, he's still got his flat earth stupidity embedded in his brain. And he doesn't understand. He thinks, like all believers in pseudoscience, he thinks everything's got to be clean cut and sorted out and dry and cut and dried. Everything's got to be very easy. He doesn't understand the difference between principles and practical application. And the fact they're very, very different.
You don't understand when Jose's playing a game, and he's just playing a game. That's all.
Yeah, but he's being a wanker though. So
that's just Jose playing flip flop.
Well, yeah, okay. If he's pretending to be a wanker, I'm afraid that's as good as being a wanker. I don't care if he's pretending.
Hey, it's a lot more fun to argue with him than it is to argue with some of those actual flat Earth people.
Right.
I'm sorry, flat water people.
Yeah,
Rump-
if you just bear in mind that he's just trying to get your goat, then he's succeeding if he's manipulating your emotions.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Hey,
Exactly.
Rumpus.
Well, I saw the way
Rumpus.
he treated you, Blue. I'm afraid when you left his server, I was completely agree. I thought he treated you appallingly, and he's going to say, "Oh, well, I was just being." He said in that very same issue, he said, "I enjoy annoying people. I enjoy pissing people off." Well, I'm sorry if that's what you enjoy, then you can jolly well sod off, as far as I'm concerned.
Earth to Rumpus.
Hello, George.
To settle a lot of this is I have a new auto level and another theodolite on order coming, and probably within the month, when I receive the items, I'm going to be doing a series of videos on the use and differences between auto levels and theodolites, and I will also be repeating a similar experiment that the main surveyor did, where you set up two theodolites and shoot at one another and show that their verticals are different, and to repeat that and show that verticals on the earth at different locations are not parallel to one another. There'll probably be 2 or 3 videos in the series on this, so
Yeah, the only
look for
danger.
that.
Yeah, I definitely will, George. Definitely, I'll be keeping well track of that. You see, the reason I was being very specific about, although we both know that auto levels are basically a vertical, they're effectively plumb bobs. You've got idiots like Jose, whether he's pretending to be an idiot or not, and certainly other flatties who who think that because an auto level shows you horizontal. I mean, we've got Bev, for instance, the supposed auto level expert in some degree. He didn't understand that an auto level has got a plumb bob in it, in effect. And then he starts going about, oh, where's it? I don't see this plumb bob sticking out of the auto level. What's going on there? And so they are going to think you are not checking when you say that you're going to demonstrate that verticals are not parallel. They're going to say, well, you can't do that with an auto level because that shows you what's horizontal. Now, we both know, of course, that that's derived from the fact that verticals are not parallel, but they won't. So if you're going to do that demo, make sure you're emphasizing this, that although you're looking through a horizontal thing, you're also effectively getting the vertical. But because remember, in Bev's world, horizontal has got something to do with horizon.
Yeah. Well, I'm well aware of that. And of course, I've pointed out to Bev and crew several times that an auto level first establishes vertical and it determines the horizontal from that, because
I don't think he understands that. I don't think.
No,
I really
I'm sure he doesn't, but I've explained it to him. I've diagrammed it to him
Yeah.
several times that
Yeah.
vertical comes first, then horizontal follows from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did that when you explained to him for half an hour about how a theodolite. I mean, if you remember, he claimed that a theodolite couldn't give you a horizontal because he couldn't have said,
Right.
where does this. He went on and on about it. You had to explain it, I think, for half an hour and repeat it. I think, in fact, you had to have several cycles at it, and some other idiot as well didn't understand this. So,
Well, not
there's
only
something in
that,
their heads.
yeah, in the series of videos that I'm doing, I also have a spare non-functioning theodolite of the TopCon 3B coming that I'm going to be able to dissect and actually show people the interior parts and how they work.
Oh, all right. Okay, that would be fantastic, George. Well, that's very interesting, George. I'm very glad you're doing that. Repeating the theodolite, the main surveyor thing. But I think you've got to be really careful. You say you understand it, but I think you've just to hammer the point home. You're dealing with the willful misunderstanding people like Bev and others who
Yeah,
will.
there's a degree to which I will go in dumbing things down. I'm going to assume, of course, that there's a baseline set, a baseline of critical thinking and common sense and knowledge. You know, I'm not necessarily going to try to cater to Bev and his crew. I mean, they will have to come in at a certain level to understand how this stuff works, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there will be definitely lots of people who will understand what you're doing, but obviously, if I'm just wondering if you were trying to direct it toward the Bev crew, then obviously you're going to have to be.
No.
super
My
explicit.
videos are not geared towards addressing Bev and crew or catering to them. You know, my channels.
I do.
Videos are teaching videos.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a flat Earth channel. Never has been.
Indeed.
Never will be.
Yeah. No, you understand that, George. Yeah.
Yes, I'll be very interested to see the internals actually, how this compensator does its business.
Yeah. Well, of course, the theodolite doesn't have a compensator in the sense that the auto level does. It has a pendulum, but it doesn't automatically set a level or a horizontal. It uses the pendulum to establish vertical to set the vertical angle to 0 at the zenith. And from that, then you can set the theodolite to any angle you want in the vertical.
I'm still stunned that Bev did not know that a theodolite could give you a horizontal. I mean, that level of lack of understanding means that you have to suspect that he's never ever even touched a theodolite if he didn't
I
know
know
that.
he hasn't. I know he hasn't. Just from the interaction that I've had with him, he's never ever used a theodolite or even began to even try to investigate how one is used and how they work. I mean, the whole thing with the theodolite, of course, is that the scope can rotate around the vertical plane, and the pendulum establishes when you first turn it on, you have to move the vertical scope so that the theodolite can establish where the zenith is. Like when you first turn a theodolite on, it doesn't function. You have to actually physically move the scope so that it can establish where the zenith or vertical is. And then from that, you can adjust the scope using the mechanical adjustments to any angle you want in the vertical. And the difference between that and the auto level in establishing horizontal, the auto level has its optics and its crosshairs tied to the pendulum, so it automatically tells a theodolite once it establishes where the zenith is or vertical is, then you adjust the scope to 90 degrees, and then you know that's on the horizontal. But the auto level takes care of that for you automatically, whereas on the theodolite, you actually have to adjust the scope to 90 degrees to establish horizontal.
George Bell's out in the chat, and he's been asking this question several times. He's asked it. He says, is 1,000 pounds too much for a T2 theodolite? I don't know what a T2 is. A T2 is what he's calling it.
T2? There is no
T2. I don't know what it, I have no idea what it is.
I haven't heard of a T2. What manufacturer?
He doesn't say.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. No. A T2 is not a full name, unless that happens to be that company Datum that he bought his auto level from. They use all sorts of designations, like for the auto level that he bought. It's called an AL32, meaning auto level with a 32 power scope. So I don't know. Maybe they have. I haven't looked on their site. You could go to Datum, which is a British company, UK. I don't know if they make theodolites. They do make auto levels. And like I said, Bev's auto level is an AL32 manufactured by Datum. And I just might make a comment. Looking at their specs, it's wishful thinking. You know, in the use of any of this equipment, it's basically operator. The kind of accuracy and resolutions you get from it is dependent on the operator. I mean, the auto level or a theodolite can only do so much for you. And I don't think Bev has a skill to use this equipment competently to a high degree of accuracy in listening to him. But the spec on his auto level, what is very suspect, if you look at the spec, I've fully looked at the AL32 specs, and if you look at the a bubble level spec on his vial for the auto level, it doesn't have the wide radius that you would expect in order to do a 1 arc second setting. There's just something very fishy about that. And plus the cost is awful cheap. It's about 1/3 to 1/5 the cost of an auto level that would have that kind of a grade of spec. So I don't know. And it's obvious it comes from China, and China everybody in China uses the same parts basically with it, you know, and I think this company Datum is basically OEMing out of China the auto level and putting their name on it. So it's kind of suspect. I mean, you can get good results using the AL32 if you know what you're doing and you know how to set these things up and take care in setting up and checking yourself.
He's given us
Okay.
some names now. He's got a what? Sorry, go ahead, Boone.
Yeah, no, go
Do
ahead.
what?
He's given us some names now. Wild, Herbrug, Theodolite T2, and there's
The Wild T2? Oh my God, that's probably the best Theodolite made. There's no way he's going to buy that anything cheap.
He said
well, he said
1,000
he
pounds.
was asking if it's £1,000 is too much for it. That's what
No, hell no. That's a bargain.
And Raki is claiming you haven't heard of it. Wild T2 or Leica T2. He's Raki's thrown that in.
No, Leica doesn't make the T2. That's a Wild T2.
Raki's
There's a
claiming
T2 and a T3. The Wild T2 was probably one of the best theodolites ever made. It's made with Swiss and German precision, and it was also made to do astronomical observations besides theodolite. Besides surveying, it was made to be also an astronomical tool.
Like Rakia seems to think there's the Leica T2 as well. God knows why.
Yeah, Leica is Swiss with the German optics, right? And then Topcon is Japanese, isn't it?
Yes. I use for the auto levels. I use the Topcon G2, AT G2, or I have an AT F2 coming, and then the theodolite I use is the GTS 3B as in boy, and that's a 1 arc second theodolite.
That's not bad. Is it 1 arc second? That's quite good.
Well, that's kind of typical on the high-end theodolites. The only theodolites that are really better than that are the wild ones. You can set a wild T2 to give you about 3/10 of an arc second, 2/10 to 3/10 of an arc second. Whereas the Topcon 3B, best it can do is about 1 arc second. You might be able to do a little better if you do a forward and a reverse sight and average them. And that's what I tend to do when I do my measurements. Is you just don't want to do it in the forward direction. You also want to make your measurements in the reverse direction. What I mean by reverse direction is the forward direction, you set your scope up at a target, and then in the reverse direction, you flip the scope 180 degrees and rotate the base 180 degrees so that you're looking at the same thing. But in that way, the internal errors average out, because once you're looking in the forward direction and in the other, you're still looking in forward direction, but you reverse the scope by flipping it. So it puts the error in the negative direction. You add the two, average the two, and the errors to the first order drop out.
And the average is in between. So when you flip it, now, not all theodolites can do that, right?
Oh no, all theodolites have a vertical flip in vertical.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, but George, Bev is saying, what would you think if he got one of those? Obviously, the money that he's managed to acquire off Rakia.
Well, I don't think Bev could use it, because a Wild T2 takes an awful lot of skill to set up. I mean, they are not easy to use. Jesse Kozlowski brought his up here when he visited me 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you that thing is a wonderful piece of equipment, but it's also like being in a jet cockpit compared to the cockpit of your car.
Right.
You know, to set the things up, it's purely mechanical. There's no automatic settings on the thing or anything. There's no electronics to help you out. I mean, it's purely mechanical, and
given
it
the fact
takes
that
an
Bev-
awful lot of skill to set up.
given the fact that Bev doesn't even understand what the stadium arcs are inside a theodolite, he doesn't understand that they're set by the angle. What his chances are of understanding, well, being able to use something as complicated as that is very small, isn't it really? Anyway, yeah, okay, right, that's interesting. Well, he
Well,
claims
I'd
he's
be
going to get one.
impressed if he got one. I'd agree, but I think it's way beyond his skill level at this point to even think about it. He'd be better off putting his money into getting a more modern theodolite, something that has some electronics in it.
Yeah, well, he's got all this Rakia money now, so yeah, he can do what he likes, I suppose. And his claims that he's being
Well,
attacked.
if he can
or
find a
something.
T2 for £1,000, shit, I'd probably jump on it just as an investment. There aren't that many around, and they're used as collector items by high-end surveyors.
Yeah, S. Thurston has just posted that in fact there's a 2,000. You can get one for £2,200 from the USA. So that's quite a lot more than the £1,000 that Bev was talking about.
Yeah. Well, I said £1,000 is
You did.
a real bargain.
You did, George. You did indeed say that. Oh, I see that SE Montreal's posted in the chat, in the Discord chat, one for $449. Well,
Bullshit.
he yeah,
Probably not working.
Well, I'll read it out. It's a Wild Herbrug theodolite T2 360-degree new style, shipped worldwide, $449.
Is that an auction? That's not a buy it now price. I wouldn't believe.
I don't know. He's only included a graphic. It doesn't look as though it doesn't. Yes, it looks a bit.
Nobody in his right mind is going to sell a working Wild T2 for $400 or $500.
I'm a bit surprised, George. You seem to be very familiar with this T2 now. You didn't, when we were being asked about what a T2 was earlier. You had no idea what you said. What you didn't really know what it was.
No, I just don't care to discuss certain things because it's way beyond the understanding of many of the people in these chats.
Right. So when you were being asked about T2, you thought they can't possibly be talking about that because that's beyond their capabilities. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, not a Wild T2.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to. I noticed that Bev deliberately only gave you a minimum amount of information. It's the classic sort of debating ploy trick where he gives you a tiny bit of information just to sort of test you. And of course, you've demonstrated you know.
Yeah,
all
I
about
hate
it.
playing these games.
Yeah,
you know,
just a big obnoxious wanker. Yeah, we know that's what he's like. So
casting pearls before swine.
Yeah. So that's just a dishonest, it's a bold part of Bev's dishonest and deceptive engagement.
Yeah.
He doesn't
well,
want
they
to
always
engage.
think they're testing me with some of these things they throw out, and they think they got you. Oh, you didn't know about, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's all these sort of little gotcha games they try to play.
Yeah, they don't have anything else, do they? They don't have any logic or evidence or anything. I mean, when you've got someone who doesn't even understand what the bloody Stadia things are on a bloody auto level, I mean, what? They haven't got anything. It can't discuss with you any of the technicalities.
The thing they don't seem to realize is I've seen AT2 in the flesh when Jesse brought it up and set it up on the lakeshore to look at the targets. So I've actually seen, felt, and used one, and I thought at one time it'd be really nifty to have one, but other than being a status symbol, I see no practical reason for me to have one because it is so difficult to set up and use. It's such a high degree precision piece of equipment. And like I say, all the adjustments on the thing are purely mechanical, and there's no electronics to help you out with the thing.
Larry has shown a couple of stonking theodolites on screen. I can't remember. Was one of those a T2?
I don't know what Larry showed.
Okay. I just wonder if he may mention it to you.
Well, based on SE Montreal's brilliant research, Bev, I would say £1,000 is about twice as much as you ought to be paying for a T2.
Well, Blue, that's what George is skeptical about that advert. Can you see it in the chat, George, in the Discord chat?
No, I'm not watching the YouTube.
No, Discord chat.
Discord chat.
SE Montreal's posted an image which appears to be some sort of advert for the one I was reading
just
out
a
to
minute.
you.
Yeah, just a minute. I see my my live chat isn't scrolling. I gotta scroll down.
Jump to present.
Yeah, that's the T2. Yeah.
Yep. So there's $449. What? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Larry's. See what Larry's posted. He's caught on. He's not to be outdone, is our Larry. Yeah, so a T3.
Yeah, Larry would be the guy to talk to. I mean, he has some wild equipment.
What is it?
He knows his stuff much better than I
George,
do.
can you see what Larry's just posted?
Oh yeah, I know that sucker's a tank.
Yeah, I thought this is what he was afraid. I thought he had the Stonker one he'd been talking about. He said it didn't have any electronics attached to it, but it was just a Stonker. And yes, so in fact, it was a T3 he's referring to. He's shown that on screen a few times, and yes, that is a bit chunky. Oh my God, he's got a family of them.
Yeah, well, Larry is one of these collectors. Like I said, certain surveyors collect some of the classic equipment, and Larry is one of them. Jesse kind of does it, and Dave Zank, the geodetic advisor that I talked to, he collects certain ones. He has a wild also.
Right. But as you say, for people like you and me, it's just not worth it. Because quite often we want to do things quickly, and we don't need to sort of stare at it all day. We want it to do something quickly, and we don't need. We're not trying to build something. Not trying to build a bridge or something. We just want something.
Well, and that's the difference with the new guns is they're faster, cheaper. They're not better.
Yeah. So there's hello, Larry. In case people don't know, this is Shubil. This is Larry. He's been showing us some marvelous pictures.
Yeah, Larry's like I say, Larry is the guy to talk to regarding this stuff. I know some of the I know the introductory level, so to speak. Larry's the expert.
Always learning. Always learning.
Do you stroke these things, Larry? Do you give them a caress every so often? Your little T3.
What I'd like to do is SC Montreal to give me the link to that photograph that he posted. This $449 makes me wonder. I've come across some companies in Saudi Arabia and in China that were advertising Topcon G2s very cheap, and I negotiated with one of them to pick up 3 of them at $150 a piece, where in the United States used, you're typically finding them around $600 to $800. Well, I went through this with you, Rumpus, about the payment on it, and it made me very suspect, and I backed away from the deal because they would only accept wire transfers. They would not do PayPal. They would not do payment by credit card. And the problem with wire transfer is the money's gone. Once you transfer, there's no pulling it back. Whereas with PayPal or credit card, if the items don't arrive or it isn't what's advertised, you do have recourse to get your money back through the financial agencies, be PayPal or the credit card company will help you out. But if you wire transfer, if they send you equipment or don't send you the equipment, so I backed out of the deal because they wouldn't accept any form of payment other than wire transfer.
Actually, we don't know.
That puts up a big red flag when that happens.
Definitely. This advert or whatever it is, SC Montreal, it could be, of course, for something for parts. It may not be functional for all we know. We can only see a bit of the advert, so it may.
That's why I'd like to see the full link so I could look at this photo, where this photograph is coming from, because that cannot possibly be legitimate, a working T2 at $449. Or am I wrong on this, Larry? What would be your feeling on that?
It may very well be offered at $550 or $450, wherever it is, and it's going to ship from somewhere in Eastern Europe, may never get here, and may be damaged.
Yeah.
I bought something, and I was a little leery of it, and it was reasonable price, I guess. It said it shipped from Florida. Sure enough, I start getting postings from DHL about customs coming from Venezuela. And I freaked out a little bit. Thing arrived, looked good, bought another one. So Venezuela had a big dump. So sometimes these equipment because they stole it from work. They're just pillaging the office and selling it for. If somebody buys it for 500, if they could have got 800, they don't care. They need to move it fast. But
Yeah, well, of course, this advert, it does say
Honestly,
98% positive feedback on this thing that's on Montreal Spirit. It does say 98% positive, which suggests that it is a credible
no,
thing.
no.
Okay.
Quite often they have generated their own positive
Oh,
feedback
okay.
by
All right.
just seeding, making up shock accounts and going good, and
Right. Okay.
I can confirm that Venezuela is currently experiencing a massive brain drain. All the smart people are leaving the country. They're coming to places like I've met a lot. Just today, I've met some more.
Well, and like I said, they're selling off the office equipment. Maybe they don't know what it is, but maybe they don't care. They need to move it fast. And if they see that we're shipping from, they know, no one's going to drop, a commercially viable price and then have it come from fucking Estonia. Actually, Estonia is not a bad place, but
Yeah, Estonia sounds a good place, actually. Yeah.
yeah, there is a good point about Eastern Europe being a repository of some really nice equipment. I did buy out of the Ukraine about 2 years ago a set of Russian precision capacitor standards for calibrating test equipment, and it was a real bargain. And it did arrive, and they were as advertised. It's kind of interesting to see all the Russian markings on them, but they were manufactured and used during the Cold War. But the Russians did make some very good equipment. Unfortunately, they've turned out to be real assholes now.
Well, they've always been assholes, unfortunately.
I actually did a quick research on the other lights on the internet about the price. Everything underneath €1,000 gives me a link to one trustful-ish thing. But if I click further, it's always going back to Alibaba, AliExpress, or Wish.com.
Right, China, right. But anyway,
although
George,
I was impressed. I bought a Nixie clock tube kit, and it ended up coming from somewhere in Eastern Europe. Didn't take real long. It was only $150, but it included an integrated GPS receiver to set the clock, and it was just like an hour assembly kit. It was great, and it's worked perfect. I love it, and it was cheap. I mean, $150. Nixie clocks are going for like $400.
Yeah, I might mention this company that I found the auto levels, the Topcon ATG2s that were at a very low price. I found that through Alibaba. So just because it's Alibaba, I'd be very careful. Depends on the company. And like I say, if all they're going to do is they'll only accept wire transfers, that puts up a red flag.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that side is you have to be lucky. Sometimes you get good stuff, but most of the time it's crap.
Yeah, it might be perfectly legit, and there might be some reasons that they only accept wire transfers, but I'm sure not going to take a chance at it.
Yeah, you don't want to play the lottery on this team.
I bought a 35 or 30-year-old GPS receiver, dual frequency, GPS, geodetic, all that good shit for like $250. Instead, it was working, and removed from service while working, and then it said, and they don't take refunds, but right below that said PayPal, PayPal guarantee. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. $250. I got like what used to be a $10,000 piece of equipment. Works great.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, God. Bloody hell, we need Larry. God, we need Larry for the Rex test then, I think, with some equipment like that. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I found the safest way to buy overseas or basically anywhere is pay with your credit card through PayPal, because not only do you have PayPal coming back for you, you can also have your credit card company. I use Chase Business Inc. and I've been very happy with them. I've had many disputes, and I've never lost a dispute going through Chase.
Oh, one tip: use a prepaid credit card, a virtual one, because I got hacked once through PayPal, and they actually bought a lot of things that didn't exist from my credit
Yeah.
card. Got the money
No, I'm
back,
not
but
saying.
still.
Yeah, but that's why I say if you pay through PayPal, pay with your credit card through PayPal. Don't pay out of money sitting in your PayPal account. Do not pay with that money. Use your credit card through PayPal.
Yeah, but they emptied my credit card. That was the problem.
Well, then you can get the money back with the credit card company.
That was true, but still, nowadays I use a prepaid virtual credit card and then through PayPal to do stuff like that.
I don't know. The prepaid credit card doesn't sound very safe to me.
The thing is, with the prepaid credit card, it works exactly like a credit card. Only your limit on it is the amount of money you put on it
Oh,
at
I
that moment.
got you. Okay. Sure, I got you. In case they hack you and want to go on a shopping spree with your credit card, sure.
Yeah, it's not prepaid, it's virtual, so it's unhackable.
Okay, got it. But I've been very satisfied with Chase, my Chase credit card. I've had it for close to 20 years now, and I've never ever had a problem.
Oh, George, you seem to be very, very well equipped these days with your. I'm glad to see your. Yeah, and if you do that little mains test, I think that'd be very interesting if you can demonstrate them. It'd be great if you could make it super, super compelling. I presume. Are you going to try and do these two theodolites at the same elevation? So, or are you?
Well, it doesn't matter. It
Agreed,
doesn't matter.
but it makes it. I know it doesn't matter to us because we know that you can subtract. There's the difference in the angles. You can still justify. You get.
Well, I'm going to first show the geometry behind it and why elevations don't matter, and then I'll go and do it.
Right. It's just that visually, obviously, it's a little bit easier if they're actually at the same elevation. That's all.
Well, how am I going to establish the same elevation if I
By
don't
being on the
have
east side of a
precision
lake.
GPS? Huh?
On the east side of a lake, and you've got quite a good lake.
Yeah, but in the summertime,
Yeah, I
how
know
do
that.
you set up?
Yeah, I know. You've got your island, haven't you, or something? I mean, I don't. Yeah, I can't quite. I don't know.
Yeah,
If
well, okay, I got you. Yeah, if I go between the shore and island, say 3 miles, and measure above the surface of the water on a calm day, yeah.
Yeah, and that would just eliminate. So it means that visually. So if if it's visually not looking, you say,
That's a real pain in the ass launching a boat going out to the
I always
island.
do this to you, George. I always make you do something a bit more to make it visually nice. You should be aware. That's what I always do to you. But,
Maybe you can get Rocky
and
to
what's
help you. He can walk on water,
And what's
can't
his
he?
Yeah.
what's his fascination with being over water? You get into clear air, go mountain to mountain or mountain to valley or something. Get the good answers.
Well, George has got this wonderful lake next to him. He hasn't got a flipping stonking Great Valley, unfortunately.
He sold it.
But I still can use. I have a lot of neighbors there that I'm still going to be able to use my targets in the islands and the optical corridor if I want to. But that's history. That's been done. Want to move on. Unless there's something somebody specifically wants me to look at, I still have my targets set up on Franzen Island, Home Island.
Stonking, George. Yeah, your natural laboratory you've got. It's fantastic. Oh well, I suppose I'll have to go to bed. Really.
I think I need to I think I need to send Rumpus my spreadsheet.
Oh, and if a spreadsheet for anything in particular?
Oh yeah.
All right, okay. Yeah, please send it to me. Yeah, I also always interested in your stuff, and I will be getting around to doing these videos at some stage on my little rec thing for you to check as well. But I've been rather distracted recently with various things. So, but hopefully before long you'll get a chance to review my various bits and bobs. But yes, if you want to send me a spreadsheet with some interesting info on it, I will have a look at it. Anyway, I'll go to bed and so I can stop shouting at people. And
Oh, okay. Before you go to bed, Rumpus, just to let you know, when I say feudalism, I mean a monarchy.
oh well, there's a huge difference between feudalism and monarchy.
I know, I was conflating it on purpose.
Oh, just trying to
because I'm anti-monarchy of all forms, and you're just going to say, oh, they're ceremonial only, but
yeah.
phooey on all monarchies.
Yeah, well, I must admit we've got our own problem recently. We've got people like Prince Andrew who have not behaved terribly well, and that's more stuff has come out about him about the way he's been engaging with rather dubious people, and apparently he behaved so badly in various diplomatic endeavours we had with him. He was supposedly a business sort of helper. It turns out he was a liability, and the Foreign Office we had here was saying they were trying to avoid having him on trips. So yes, and also there was a recent programme about Edward VIII and him getting mixed up with bloody an American woman who became he was sort of engaged with Hitler and things, and been some new papers recently about he actually suggested at one point to some German agent that the Germans bomb us more to make us more compliant. So yeah, monarchs, unfortunately, if you get stuck with a bad one, you are in a bit of trouble. So yes, but no, there's a huge difference between feudalism, which is all about although it's actually drawn with obviously the monarch at the top, the obligations as a serf, serfdom and feudalism are sort of synonymous.
Right. No monarch, no feudalism, no problem.
Well, I'm quite sure there would have been effectively a replacement, something similar to feudalism in those bygone ages of the 13th and 14th century. But anyway, we got rid of feudalism. So in other words, feudalism is all about you having an obligation to the landowner. So if the landowner wanted you to do something, you would have to work on his land, or you had other various obligations to him. And those sorts of things ended in England, the first country in the world to end these obligations in about, well, starting off in about 1250, 1280, and then with the Black Death, and then finally in about 1381, effectively all this stuff came to an end, and we were the first country to eliminate that. And Russia was the last in the middle of the 19th century. They finally
but
feudalism.
America never had feudalism, so we were first.
No, we got rid of it before
America. We never had feudalism in the first place to not get rid of. You see,
yeah, but you didn't. There wasn't a place called America until we invented it.
Now we have sharecroppers.
Yeah, that's totally different.
I mean, I've got a church in my where I live. It's from 1215 or something, 1260 or something. So I mean, this is just a random place, and so the US is just a youngster of a country. It's barely got any history at all. But fortunately, you picked up all the models of democracy and everything, and you've got all those lovely resources over there, all that oil and gas and God knows what, and space, and obviously you've been rich through it. Anyway.
But never feudalism.
Well, we've been going on for 3 hours.
You had slavery. You had slavery, whereas we've never had such a thing.
Thanks to us.
They didn't have slavery thanks to us. We didn't invent. Well, okay, we transport.
No, I'm Dutch. We transport them.
Well, it's actually the Portuguese started it. To be fair.
Yeah, we didn't start.
Yeah,
slavery. Okay. We just and the Dutch were in it before us as well. Well, of course, actually, one of the first slaveries was the Barbary pirates. They used to go and nick people off the continent, including from Britain, and go and take them all the way to North Africa and then treat them appallingly. Those were actually the first slave. This is before any slavery, the slave trade was involved. The Barbary pirates were busy at it. And only after that did, when we were able to go and kick their ass, I think it was Oliver Cromwell in the 1660s, we sent some ships around to the North African coast and basically destroyed them all. But that was prior to that, they were actually quite a pain for a lot of Europe.
You can see the original slave market. It's still there. It's still it's a museum now. The original first slave market in Europe. It's in Lagos in Portugal, and it's the same port that Vasco da Gama sailed out of.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yes, I think Portugal.
huge
Yeah,
coinc-
Portugal. I think was the first to get into the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they started it.
Sorry, Blue. You were trying to close up, and I interrupted you. Again. Sorry, Blue. I keep on doing. I've been a bit. Yeah, I've been. Sorry if I've been making this a bit more abrasive than usual for your hangouts.
Okay. Now we're at 3 hours and 48 minutes. I'm getting tired. I'm getting hungry. And does anybody have anything else? Don't anybody say feudalism again tonight. Other than that, anybody got anything else they want to talk about? Aha.
That cuts me out then. I was going to talk
Go.
about the F word.
No more F words. Not tonight. Well, hey, thanks everybody. Hope you guys enjoy. I had a great time. Hope everybody on the panel had a good time. Except,
you can't go away, Blue. We want to stay on.
Well, you can stay as long as you want to, but I'm shutting this damn YouTube off. That's what's going to happen. And hey, I appreciate everybody out in the YouTube land for tuning in. We've still got 60 people watching. Had 82, I think, at one point. So, pretty good night. And we'll probably do this again tomorrow. So.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if our Flat Earth friends purchase a Wild T2. I'd love to see that and see how
no. They're not Flat Earth. They're flat waterers, not Flat Earthers.
It'd be monkeys with a football.
Yeah, but we don't need to, Blue. We don't need to call them what they think they are. We need to call them what they are. And I asked Bev what he would say with a canal was, say, 7,000 or 10,000 miles long, and eventually, I asked him about 20 times to answer that question. He wouldn't, but the next day he did actually make some comment about the fact that the canal will go along being horizontal as long as you like, which means he's a flat earther. The underlying geometry of the world, according to Bev, is flat.
It's a form of science denier.
Yeah. All right. Good night, YouTube land. I'm shutting you guys off.
Night.
See you on the next one.
See you later.